Chapter 364 Horrifying Creatures Besieging the Dragon Palace 4. Chapter 364 Horrifying Creatures Besieging the Dragon Palace 4. Roar. The Pliosaurus lifted its huge head and looked down on the entire dragon palace. Eventually his gaze landed on Wang Xian. Roar, roar, roar. Excitement gleamed in the eyes of the Pliosaurus as he roared loudly. A message was transmitted to Wang Xian. Devour me? When Wang Xian heard the Pliosaurus, he was infuriated. He moved and transformed into a 7-meter-long divine dragon immediately. Roar. He let out a furious roar. Extending his mouth to the fullest, he growled, "Scram!" Roar, roar, roar. Prime Minister Turtle and the other members of the Dragon Palace growled in unison and shot cold looks at the surrounding marine races. Little thing, I'm going to devour you. I'll be able to evolve further after consuming you. The Pliosaurus lowered its head, fixed its gaze at Wang Xian and growled loudly. The level 13 creatures had long had its intelligence manifested. From Wang Xian, it could feel a tremendous amount of energy. It had the premonition that if it could devour this little thing, it would be able to evolve further. After which, it would be able to enter the broader seas. Wang Xian's eyes lit up and his heart palpitated violently upon hearing the Pliosaurus. Roar. At this moment, the Pliosaurus extended one of its huge wings and slapped it on the dragon array. Crack, crack, crack. In just a single strike, crisp cracking sounds came from the dragon array. Wang Xian looked up and saw cracks appearing at the location where the Pliosaurus attacked. These cracks were healing at a very slow pace. However, Wang Xian was certain that if the Pliosaurus were to attack again, the dragon array would definitely shatter. This won't do. The dragon array wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks of the Pliosaurus. Once the dragon array is shattered, the dragon palace would be destroyed and I wouldn't be able to escape. Wang Xian's expression changed constantly. At this point he saw the Pliosaurus moving its wing once again. Kill? A deep growl came from Wang Xian. He moved and charged out of the dragon palace through the eastern gates. He couldn't allow the Pliosaurus to attack again. Otherwise all of them would die. Rumble. A 5-meter blue ball of water formed before Wang Xian and was shot towards the Pliosaurus. Roar. Little thing, you are finally out. The Pliosaurus wiggled its huge wing in response to the attack from Wang Xian. Pah. Under the dreadful strength of the Pliosaurus, the water ball shattered instantly. Die. Wang Xian swung his dragon claws towards the wing. Roar. Kill. Behind him, Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Heavens and the crowd followed Wang Xian closely as they charged out of the Dragon Palace and attacked the Pliosaurus. Roar. The Pliosaurus looked in contempt as he saw Wang Xian swinging his dragon claws at it. The Pliosaurus was almost 5 times the size of Wang Xian at over 30 meters long. When facing this little thing, it wasn't wary at all. Once again, it wiggled one of its wings towards Wang Xian. You must be courting death. Seeing the contempt in the eyes of the Pliosaurus, Wang Xian underwent a transformation. His body turned golden in color as his dragon claws glowed dazzlingly. Pliosaurus, level 13. Extractable dragon energy, 21,112,344. Break. The glow of the metal extended over a dozen-odd meters in an instant. This strike was the best strike Wang Xian could put up. Prime Massacre. The strongest strike. CI. Roar. The dragon claws struck the 7-meter wing and spewed blood everywhere. The entire wing was ripped off under the attack from Wang Xian. Growling grr. The Pliosaurus grimaced in pain. He stared furiously at the broken wing and bloodthirst filled his eyes. How dare you injure me? Little thing, I'm going to devour you. The Pliosaurus extended its other huge wing and stretched its huge head towards Wang Xian. Get lost. Wang Xian swung his giant claws from the top to bottom. A huge 5-meter dragon claw left 5 trails of blood across the face of the Pliosaurus. Roar. Roar. You shall die. You shall die. Having been injured once again, the Pliosaurus tried to knock Wang Xian with its head. Bam. Wang Xian was prepared for it. The color of his body changed into that of the Earth Dragon and he used the shield of the Earth Dragon to withstand the attack. However, the strength of the Pliosaurus was incomparably powerful. Wang Xian was knocked back several hundred meters and fresh blood oozed out from his mouth. How dare you injure the Dragon King? Die. At this instant, Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Heavens and other members of the Dragon Palace growled in unison. Huge earthy thorns with horrifying wind blades were launched towards the Pliosaurus. Countless devilish snakes and the huge fork formed from the combined attack of the Xiao using water streams landed heavily on the Pliosaurus. Ants? The attacks of the members of the Dragon Palace were much stronger under the 50% buff from the Dragon Palace. Previously, if it weren't for the buff from the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian wouldn't have been able to injure the level 13 Pliosaurus. All the attacks from the Dragon Palace members landed on and wounded the Pliosaurus, infuriating it further. This group of ant-like existence had actually injured the mighty Pliosaurus. With the buff from the Dragon Palace, we stand a chance in the battle. Wang Xian licked away the blood from his mouth. A cold light flashed in his eyes and he turned into the metal dragon once again. Carrying a powerful and sharp edge, he dashed forward. Assist the Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle shouted out loud. Members of the Dragon Palace glowed in a gold, blue, black and dullish yellow glow as they attacked in unison. The physical body of the Pliosaurus was extremely tough. However, it was just an existence with a lowly bloodline. Moreover, it didn't have any cultivation arts. As for the members of the Dragon Palace, they had all practiced Divine Dragon Transformation. The Devil Division practiced the Devil Dragon Transformation, Roving Lobster practiced the Metal Dragon Transformation and the Prime Minister Turtle practiced the Earth Dragon Transformation. All of them were better in close combat than the Pliosaurus. Nonetheless, their range attacks weren't any weaker. Countless elemental attacks exploded on the Pliosaurus. All right. Wang Xian beamed. With the strength of all the members of the Dragon Palace, they might just be able to kill a level 13 Pliosaurus with the assistance of the Dragon Palace. Roar. Wang Xian growled loudly. Revealing his razor-sharp teeth, he bit towards the Pliosaurus. The Pliosaurus, who was defending against the attacks from the members of the Dragon Palace, instantly felt an intense pain cruising through his body. To the right of his body, a 3-meter-long wound was ripped open. The wound was a meter deep. If it wasn't for its huge body, this strike may very well have been fatal to it. However, a 3-meter-long and 1-meter-deep wound on a 30-meter-long body wouldn't be considered too grave. Rawr rawr. The Pliosaurus was infuriated. It wiggled its huge tail and swept towards Wang Xian. Swish. Wang Xian's color changed as he turned into the Earth Dragon once again and relied on the Earth Shield to guard him. Bam. Earth Dragon had the strongest defense among all other attributes. However, Wang Xian was still knocked back and threw out blood from the impact. Wang Xian wiped off the blood from the edge of his mouth and stared coldly at the Pliosaurus. Roar roar. All of you here. Kill these ants-like existences for me. At this moment, the Pliosaurus turned to the other creatures around him and gave his orders. Chapter 365 Brutality and Death, 1. Chapter 365, Brutality and Death, 1. Wang Xian's face contorted as he heard the echoes from the Pliosaurus. He spun his head around to check his surroundings. Meanwhile, up to 5,000 terrifying creatures which formed several formidable clams surrounding Wang Xian looked on by the sides with icy stares. But their eyes glistened at the sound of the Pliosaurus. The leaders of each clan possessed extreme wisdom, and they could tell that this Pliosaurus, though horrifying, was no match for them. And yet, amongst all of them, no one except the Pliosaurus was able to break through the defense up ahead, to make it inside the space which they so desired. Howl howl. The mega-teeth shark, which measured 18 meters long, roared at its neighboring Cyclops shark, as though the two were communicating. Howl howl. Immediately after, the two giants let out another growl, before they attacked in the direction of the Dragon Palace members, including Prime Minister Turtle and Roving Heavens. The school of Dunkleistas hesitated as they looked on by the side. However, when they saw the mega-teeth shark race attack, they too joined in the fight. As the two powerful races joined forces, the creatures of the remaining races procrastinated no further. In an instant, the looming crowd of haunting creatures sieged towards the Dragon Palace. While two other weaker clans, namely the Swordfish, which glowed with a metallic sheen, as well as the Anomalocaris, did not join in the siege. Instead, they stared at the Dragon Palace with glistening eyes. Given that their toughest members were but level 11 combatants, these two races thus could not compare to the stronger Mega-Teeth, Dunkleistas and King Cuttlefish. All Dragon Palace members, including Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Heavens, Roving Xiao, Roving Girl and Roving Lobster, responded with a heavy look, at the sight of the formidable creatures which were coming at them from all sides. "Kill?" Roving Heavens growled in a low pitch. As he did, he raised his rod and glared fiercely in the direction of the Dunkleistus. There were 3 level 12 combatants amongst the school of Dunkleistus. "Howl howl." Roving Yaksha roared. "Kill them," he continued. Raising his weapon-like arm, he lashed out at the mega-teeth sharks with an apathetic look. Slithering their thick bodies, the 9 venomous sea snakes looked on indifferently at the bunch of deep-sea pythons, of which 4 had made their way over to Roving Yaksha and Roving Heavens. With a heavy look, Prime Minister Turtle landed on the seabed floor, as the surrounding crust began to tremor. And so did Roving Lobster and Roving Girl. "Charge!" they shouted. Right now, with no room to retreat, they could only battle it out. And it was either kill or perish. Even though there were 8 level 12 creatures amongst the terrifying mass, Prime Minister Turtle and gang would nonetheless battle them the best they could, putting their abilities to the test. After all, they were now boosted by the energy from the Dragon Palace as well as the Divine Dragon transformation. Boom. Howl howl howl. The real battle would break out at any moment as the opponents lurked. The giant sharks, each measuring over 10 meters, the deep-sea pythons, measuring over 20, the king cuttlefish as well as the school of Dunkleistus, which all spanned over a dozen. Every one of them was a lot larger than the Dragon Palace members. On the other hand, the devil monkeys oozed a devilish aura, and at this moment their population of 700 did not appear to be too many. Moreover, most of the devil monkeys were below the inborn level. "Be off and die," Roving Heavens roared. Thereafter, his body mushroomed and grew up to about 7 meters. He looked on emotionlessly while his body blazed with devilish aura. As he swung his metallic rod, Roving Heavens took aim before striking it at the level 12 Dunkleistus with no holds barred. More than 100 devil monkeys behind him leaped forward and thrust themselves onto the Dunkleistus. Bang! Surprisingly, as the huge rod landed forcefully on the head of the Dunkleistus, it clanged as though metals had crashed against each other. The head of the fish was merely dented as it looked up at Roving Heavens with icy stares. Swaying its tail, the fish opened its mouth the widest it could before charging at Roving Heavens with frightening speed. Scram! Roving Heavens scowled as he stabbed his rod towards the Dunkleistus' mouth. Creak! However, in that instant, the Dunkleistus bit into Roving Heavens' rod using its powerful megalodon teeth. Face sullen, Roving Heavens tried to withdraw his rod, only to discover in shock that it had been gnawed on deeply and would not budge. The biting force of the Dunkleistus was no doubt unrivaled. Howl howl howl. Just then, the tribe of devil monkeys started to battle the tens of Dunkleistus behind. The sharp claws of the monkeys mauled the bodies of the fish. As for the weaker monkeys, they could only manage several bloodied scratch marks on the fish. Creak 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 creak. Suddenly, with a shift in stance, several level 11 Dunkleistus sank their teeth into a couple of devil monkeys. A clear crisp sound came crackling as the bunch of devil monkeys were bitten in two. In an instant, blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the surrounding waters crimson. Howl howl. Roving Heavens snarled with a grimace, having lost several descendants in the flick of an eye. As he snapped, he let go of his rod and dived straight at the Dunkleistus. It was all or nothing. Howl howl. The Dunkleistus released the rod and raised its head before it started to chew at Roving Heavens' arm. The megalodon teeth had barely bitten onto a small piece of Roving Heavens' arm but managed to tear off a huge chunk of flesh in the blink of an eye. To which, Roving Heavens glared with bloodshot eyes. Creak creak creak. Howl howl howl. Chilling screams and sounds of spines breaking hovered in the waters. All around, tens of weaker devil monkeys had perished upon the initial collision. Only 2 of the Dunkleistus had gone belly up after getting mobbed by the devil monkeys. Alongside that, the Yaksha clan too had met with a formidable opponent. Even as they joined forces, tackling the mega-teeth sharks remained no easy feat. This was especially so in the case of the Cyclops shark, which proved to be a handful. As its eyes darted shots of black demonic aura, it pierced right through the bodies of 2 Yakshas. Blood spurted everywhere. In retaliation, Roving Yaksha howled in an angry outburst and led a group of Yakshas with their sea spears, before charging at the dozen or so mega-teeth sharks. It was miserable, utterly anguishing. Within a mere 1 minute of exchanging hands, more than 100 Dragon Palace members had lost their lives. This placed the Devil Division and the Dragon Guard Division at a blatant disadvantage. The 9 venomous sea snakes were the only ones with the upper hand amongst all Dragon Palace members. With the bloodline of the Wind Divine Dragon, their combat abilities were naturally much stronger than ordinary creatures. Their fighting skills only got better, aided by the energy boost by the Dragon Palace. They moved quick as lightning, forming shadows as they slithered amidst the battlefield while attacking the deep-sea pythons. Boom. Suddenly, the bodies of the 9 venomous sea snakes briefly twitched while they were thrashing it out with the 20-plus deep-sea pythons. To which 20 of the pythons froze for a moment as they struggled. Soon after, they turned around and began sinking their fangs into their 5 level 11 and 12 comrades. 9 venomous sea snakes. Level 11. Art of Cultivation. Wind Dragon Transformation. Superpower. Ability to manipulate snake clans of levels lower than oneself, and the ability to control the winds. The ability to manipulate and control, as descended from its bloodline, had finally revealed its miraculous effects at this instant. Never had 2 level 12 and 3 level 11 deep-sea pythons ever expected to be attacked by their own underlings. In an instant, blood spurted on all ends. Chapter 366 Brutality and Death 2. Chapter 366 Brutality and Death 2. SSSSSSSS. The 5 deep-sea pythons were attacked by 5 venomous sea snakes. Together with the surprise attacks from their subordinates, the bodies of these 5 deep-sea pythons were ripped apart. Blade after blade of wind sliced through them. Bam. The 5 horrifying deep-sea pythons finally met their end as they sank to the bottom of the sea. Leading the 20-odd remaining deep-sea pythons, the 5 venomous sea snakes swam towards the Dunkleistus race and the megateeth sharks. The pressure on the Devil Division, which had suffered heavy losses, was finally relieved a little. However, the battles were still extremely brutal. Devil monkeys were falling each moment. The Dragon Guard Division that was fighting the megateeth sharks was also facing the same predicament. For every shark they killed, they would have to sacrifice several patrolling yikshaws. Below them, the King Cuttlefish race had surrounded Prime Minister Turtle. Streams of poisonous fog had completely shrouded the Prime Minister Turtle, and their horrifying tentacles had gripped tightly onto Prime Minister Turtle. However, Prime Minister Turtle had retracted his head and limbs back into his turtle shell. He lay on the seabed and still maintained his attacks by controlling earth and using earthy thorns. At the same time, he manipulated the earth below him and was digging a huge hole. Prime Minister Turtle constantly released Earthy Thorn and his aura to suppress the King Cuttlefish. This squadron of King Cuttlefish was infuriated. They were determined to kill Prime Minister Turtle after receiving the orders from their leader of the King Cuttlefish. SSSSSSSSS. At this moment, the 3 leaders of the Dunkleistus race started noticing the number of their kind dwindling rapidly. Subsequently, they let out a furious cry. The strange fish that had gathered around acted like they had received an order as several thousands of level 7 and 8 strange fish charged towards the battles frantically. They were just like piranhas that had picked up the scent of blood as they went on a rampage. Far away from these battles, the swordfish race that had a metallic shine and the blue anomalocaris race retreated further. They appeared to possess extraordinary intelligence. Other than these 2 races which had not entered the battles, all the other races and horrifying creatures were killing the members of the Dragon Palace. Fresh blood had dyed the region before the eastern gate of the Dragon Palace red. Chunks of flesh and corpses were falling towards the bottom of the sea every second. The advantage that the Dragon Palace gained from the 9 venomous sea snakes had completely disappeared. Although those level 7 and 8 creatures were relatively weaker, their numbers were far superior. 400 out of the 700 devil monkeys had perished within the short time frame. Only 60 of the 100 patrolling yikshaws were left. Moreover, deaths were still piling up each second. Brutality and death had descended upon this region of the sea. Even so, not a single member of the Dragon Palace had retreated. They had disregarded death and weren't fearful of it. Battles? Killings? Roving Heavens was in a complete state of insanity. A Dunkleistus had ripped a part of his flesh off of him. One could even see the bone from the wound on his arm. Despite that, he still held the metal rod tightly and attacked the level 12 Dunkleistus before him with even more fervor. Roving Lobster moved away from the battle with the Dunkleistus and started killing the level 7 and 8 strange fish around him. With every strike with its pincers, one of these strange fish would die. At this point, the golden surface of Roving Lobster had been dyed red. These strange fish were too numerous. Gradually, the metal body of the Roving Lobster was being chipped away. It was especially so behind his back. His shell was broken and his flesh was exposed. The battle continued for another 5 minutes. The surrounding sea region had been dyed red from the blood. 2/3 of the members of the Dragon Palace had fallen. The bottom of the sea was now filled with the corpses of the devil monkeys, patrolling yakshas and other creatures. Arg! Roar, roar, roar. At this moment, Wang Xian was bitten again by the Pliosaurus before the eastern gate. He was thrown aside and smashed heavily on the dragon array. Despite turning into the Earth Divine Dragon, his body was still covered in fresh blood. Seeing the deaths of the members of the Dragon Palace around him, Wang Xian's face was flushed with anger. His cold eyes were now filled with frenzy. Behind Wang Xian, Roving Girl was constantly manipulating water streams to heal Wang Xian's injuries. The blue Roving Girl was as white as chalk at this moment as she had almost exhausted all her water attribute energy. Stubborn ants. I'll devour you. The Pliosaurus glanced at the wounds on him once again as it flared up. Within these few minutes, this ant was attacking without concerns of getting injured. When the razor-sharp dragon claws landed on its body, a deep wound would appear instantly. And when he attacked, that ant-like existence would undergo a huge transformation and turn into tough earth. This greatly pissed him off. I have to kill it. Otherwise all the members of the Dragon Palace, including me, will be dead. I have to kill it. Wang Xian's eyes were bloodshot. As long as he could kill the Pliosaurus, they could retreat back into the safety of the Dragon Palace. Therefore he attacked without concern about getting injured in the hope of returning to the Dragon Palace to recuperate after killing it. However, the Pliosaurus was too huge. Even if it couldn't use elemental attacks, the power was still tremendous. A swing of its tail could severely injure Wang Xian. If it bit Wang Xian, it could penetrate the scales on his body. Rumble. All of a sudden, a dull explosion erupted from the bottom of the sea. Wang Xian took a quick glance and was greatly shocked. Below them, the Prime Minister Turtle controlled the earth and created an incomparably huge hole. The next instant, he buried with him the King Cuttlefish race that he was battling. Over 20 King Cuttlefish were buried below the seabed with the Prime Minister Turtle. Wang Xian's eyes were red with anger. He glared at the Pliosaurus, transformed into the metal divine dragon and shot towards it at extreme speed. Kill? He was just like a sharp longsword. The dragon claws were like the edge of the long sword while the body of the divine dragon supported the strike. Desperation. Wang Xian was completely desperate. At this point he could only risk his life to gain an opportunity to survive. Despite being covered in wounds, he still had to attack desperately. Dragon Spear. Wang Xian growled loudly and pierced towards the Pliosaurus. Get lost, the Pliosaurus grunted. Its horrifying tail swept towards Wang Xian. The tail of the Pliosaurus was over 10 meters long. While sweeping rapidly through the water, it brought along unimaginable strength. Wang Xian was bitter. He gritted his teeth, didn't stop and instead accelerated across. Crack, crack, crack. Just as Wang Xian was about to risk his life to clash with the Pliosaurus, the surface of the seabed suddenly cracked. Prime Minister Turtle spun upwards and crashed into the tail of the Pliosaurus. Rumble. Horrifying collision sounds propagated throughout the vicinity. Dragon King, kill it. A weak voice resounded. Wang Xian looked over and was desolated to see the shell of Prime Minister Turtle cracking at a rapid pace. Bright red blood instantly dyed its huge dullish yellow body. Prime Minister Turtle looked at Wang Xian as its body was swept away. The tail of the Pliosaurus had been stopped after Prime Minister Turtle gave up his life. Tears of blood oozed out of Wang Xian's eyes. Burning through the dragon energy in his body, the metal shine of his body glowed even stronger as he accelerated towards the Pliosaurus. You are just an ant. Die now. The Pliosaurus wasn't concerned that his tail had been stopped. It extended its 7-meter mouth and revealed rows of razor-sharp teeth as it tried to bite towards Wang Xian's dragon head. Dragon King, I'll stop its attack. Suddenly Wang Xian heard a fatigued but pleasing voice. Following which, he saw a sea clam flying towards the mouth of the Pliosaurus. The sea clam enlarged to 4 meters while ascending before landing in the middle of the Pliosaurus' mouth. Caca. The Pliosaurus bit onto the shell of the roving girl. It was taken aback slightly but soon crushed down with all its might. The clamshell cracked slowly. The roving girl had bought less than a second for Wang Xian. I'm going to kill you and devour you. In this split second, Wang Xian flashed across like a golden ray of light. His dragon energy had now been completely exhausted. Bam! Wang Xian pierced the body of the Pliosaurus like a sword. However, he was only able to pierce 2 meters into the horrifying defense of the Pliosaurus, and this wasn't fatal. Luckily, Wang Xian's head was now within the body of the Pliosaurus. He opened his huge mouth and started devouring the flesh and blood of the Pliosaurus from inside. Ark! 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 The Pliosaurus grimaced in pain. It spat out the crushed clamshell, extended its huge mouth and bit onto Wang Xian's tail. At that instant, Wang Xian felt as though his dragon tail had been ripped off of him. Despite that, he had forgotten the pain in his body, as he was entirely focused on devouring the flesh and blood of the Pliosaurus. The location Wang Xian attacked was none other than the throat of the Pliosaurus. He struggled to devour all the flesh and blood and didn't stop for a single instant. Rar rar! The Pliosaurus cried out in pain. Soon, it lost the strength to hold onto Wang Xian and its voice was softening slowly. Wang Xian could vaguely hear the screams of roving lobster, roving heavens and the pitiful cries of the devil monkeys. The king of the devil monkey had fallen. He could hear the gruesome screams of the Yakshas and the sorrow of roving Yaksha. Wang Xian's eyes had turned red from anger. He was still devouring frantically. He wanted to completely consume the Pliosaurus as revenge for Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Heavens and all his subordinates. The sea before the eastern gate of the Dragon Palace had been completely dyed red with blood. The seawater had now become blood. At this instant, within the Dragon Palace, on the progenitor tree behind the dragon throne, the soul-returning branch was emanating grayish energy. In front of the eastern gate, the corpses of Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster, Roving Heavens, Roving Yaksha and members of the Devil Division and Dragon Guard Division flew towards the progenitor tree within the Dragon Palace as blurry and grayish shadows. At the same time, the heads of the 9 elemental divine dragon statues around the dragon transformation pool had lit up suddenly. Before the eastern gate of the Dragon Palace, the flesh and blood that harbored dense energy slowly fused into the seabed. Streams of dragon blood started flowing into the dragon transformation pool from the heads of the 9 divine dragon statues. Chapter 367, Leveling Up and Revival, 1. Chapter 367, Leveling Up and Revival, 1. Ah! TSK TSK TSK. Blood-curdling screams resonated throughout the vast seabed. As they did, mammoth carcasses sprawled all over outside the majestic eastern gate of the Dragon Palace. Carcasses of menacing sharks and Dunkleistus, each over a dozen meters, as well as deep-sea pythons stretching close to 20 meters. But, given their huge physicality, they continued to emit a sheer force of terror even as their now fragmented bodies lay dead on the seabed. At the same time, their bodies began to dissolve into the seabed bit by bit before vanishing altogether eerily. Within the area, the strong metallic stench which ran with the blood drifted amidst the waters, before heading towards the Dragon Palace. The phenomenon was overlooked by Wang Xian, while the only remaining members of the Dragon Palace, the 9 venomous sea snakes, had not noticed it either. Meanwhile, the battle was yet to be over, as the 9 venomous sea snakes were battling it out with the remaining few Dunkleistus and Cyclops shark, aided by the 5 deep-sea pythons. At the eastern entrance of the Dragon Palace, these dozen or so creatures were the only survivors left, while the rest had all perished within the territorial waters. While the only surviving 9 venomous sea snakes were already bloodied and battered, they still moved at unrivaled speeds and possessed telepathy. Time and again they managed to dodge the killings thanks to their joined forces. Howl howl howl. Growling, the remaining Dunkleistus and Cyclops shark looked on with fear in their eyes. Since the battle and killings they were the only survivors of their clan. As of now they had lost all ferocity. As they looked at the countless carcasses which were either suspended amidst the waters or lying motionless on the seabed, they intended to run away. But savagery had been forced out of the 9 venomous sea snakes from the fight, as they rounded up the last of their enemies with bloodthirst in their eyes, vowing to get rid of them. In revenge for their comrade's death. Dub 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 dub. At a side, the mammoth Pliosaurus which spanned over 30 meters sprawled across the floor motionless, with only the area above its heart still bobbing. On its head was a large appendage which continued moving about. The gold appendage had many teeth on it and was on the verge of breaking into several smaller pieces. Barely hanging, the appendage was merely attached with a dangling bit of skeleton. The appendage was being tucked and dragged inwards into the Pliosaurus body. Wang Xian's body was completely within the Pliosaurus carcass. He was currently surrounded by a pool of blood, and could not make out anything else around him. All that he could manage now was to devour instinctively. In one bite, Wang Xian had engulfed about 400 to 500 catty worth of flesh. Bite after bite he chewed without the slightest pause. Howl howl. Outside of the carcass rang the chilling screams of the Dunkleistus and Cyclops shark, before the last of their corpses flopped onto the seabed with a loud thud. The 9 venomous sea snakes were overwhelmed with fatigue as they swam towards each other and licked the wounds of their buddies before looking around at their surroundings. One of the 9 venomous sea snakes glided over to the carcass of Prime Minister Turtle. It circled around the corpse before gently bumping its head with its body. Swish. The carcass of Prime Minister Turtle began to disintegrate. Eerily, its sturdy shell dissolved slowly into ashes, before the entire body completely vanished. The rest of the 9 venomous sea snakes swam over to the bodies of Roving Heavens and Roving Wuxia and looked on. They watched as their bodies made their spooky disappearance. Finally, the exhausted 9 venomous sea snakes glanced over in the direction of the Pliosaurus carcass, where their king was also at. Sensing Wang Xian's physical state, the 9 venomous sea snakes glided over steadily and lay around the giant carcass. Thereafter they peered about their surroundings. Beyond the Dragon Palace's parameters were 2 remaining races. Namely the Anomalocaris at the southern gate and the Swordfish at the northern gate. All in all, the 2 races totaled over 300 members. They looked on in trepidation at the harrowing sight of the battlefield. The Anomalocaris, each a length of 2 meters, had 2 walking legs which were flashing with occasional flickers of lightning bolts, as they grew along their all-blue bodies. The Swordfish, each measuring between 2 to 3 meters, had a meter-long sharp thorn growing on each of their bodies. The creatures gazed at the eastern gate, which was now thronging with carcasses. Swaying their bodies along gently, the creatures eventually set their sights on the Dragon Palace. They stared intently at the entrance of the northern and southern gates. As their race leaders succumbed to temptation, they charged towards the gates. Their hearts were yearning with a burning desire. Bam bam bam. The troops of the Anomalocaris and Swordfish surged forth at frightening speeds. However, as they arrived beneath the dragon's gate, they felt as though they were being sucked into a marsh, making it hard for them to enter the premises. That said, this was different from their attempt earlier via another spot. They had tried diving into the palace by descending from above but were repelled as though they had collided with a solid mountain. As a result, it sent the Anomalocaris and Swordfishes to violently writhe before they tried to burrow their way in. Blop. Alas, one of the Swordfishes had managed its way into the Dragon Palace. Dumbfounded, the fish tried to grasp hold of the energy within the Dragon Palace with excitement. Following which, it spun its head over while waving its tail to its other members, sending message after message. This sent the Swordfish clan into a swirl of exhilaration, as they burrowed furiously, in a desperate attempt to get in. The same went for the Anomalocaris at the southern gate. As one member finally managed its way in, the rest followed along and poured in frantically. Ding. Consumption of the Pliosaurus. 21,112,344 dragon energy extracted. Ding. Level ascension. Upgrading into level 8 5 elements divine dragon. Right then, just outside of the eastern gate, the ginormous carcass which was once the Pliosaurus had now disappeared. As Wang Xian devoured the tail of the carcass, he heard the update from the system before he eventually flopped onto the floor. Woohoo, he cheered. At last he had devoured the entire body. Just then Wang Xian felt excruciating pain all over his body. The pain seared on as if tugging at his heart, to the point where he thought his tail had disappeared. As he calmed his heart, he tried to make a mental assessment of his physical condition. This? He uttered with a bitter smile. He looked at his battered and bruised body, while his insides were covered in wounds. The injuries were especially severe at his tail region, where the appendage had almost split open entirely. He flinched briefly as the piercing agony caused him to inhale one cold breath. This was the first time Wang Xian had been bashed up so badly since becoming the Divine Dragon. Thank goodness I've upgraded. Wang Xian exclaimed in relief. Name Wang Xian. Race, 5-element Divine Dragon, able to transform into a human. Level, 8. Dragon Energy, 22563, 21/100,000,000. Superpower, rule over the marine animals but only those of lower grade than itself, ability to devour for dragon energy extraction, and control over the 5 elements. Art of cultivation, divine dragon transformation. Upon hearing the updates of his current attributes, Wang Xian heaved a sigh of utter relief. As he willed it in his heart, the dragon energy within his body started to circulate before it began to heal his wounds. The dragon energy's depleting so quickly. Wang Xian yelped in shock. As his body underwent healing and restoration, the dragon energy was being exhausted by the hundreds of thousands. Tisk, why is the usage so exhaustive? Wang Xian complained. Your body is in utter ruin. Complete restoration would require 5 million dragon energy. At the same moment, the voice from the system explained, which made Wang Xian gasp. 5 million, and even the ascension to level 7 only took 10 million. The divine dragon possesses formidable powers and self-restoration. You may opt to heal naturally on your own, where your body will be restored in a month's time. The voice from the system elaborated. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before he paused the restoration process in his body after some brief fixes. He was somewhat unwilling to part with 5 million dragon energy. After all, he still lacked more than 70 million dragon energy for his ascension to level 9. Chapter 368, Leveling Up and Revival, 2. Chapter 368, Leveling Up and Revival, 2. I'm finally feeling better after exhausting 1,000,000 points of dragon energy. Wang Xian returned to his human form and stood up gradually on the seabed. Dragon King. The 9 venomous sea snakes turned around and greeted him deferentially. Wang Xian looked around him. When he realized only the 9 venomous sea snakes were still alive, he couldn't help but feel sorrow welling up inside him. He looked further and was shocked to see the surrounding seawater to be in a beautiful shade of blue. There weren't any corpses around or the scent of blood. It was as though the brutal battle previously had not happened at all. Wang Xian's eyebrows knitted together as he asked, "What happened? Where are Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster and the others?" Dragon King, they have all disappeared. All their corpses fused into the seabed and all the blood flowed in the direction of the Dragon Palace. One of the 9 venomous sea snakes answered. They disappeared? All the blood flowed towards the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian was puzzled and looked in the direction of the Dragon Palace. Let's go back. Wang Xian headed in the direction of the Dragon Palace. His injuries made him feel extremely weak. Although his level had increased to level 8, his strength level was similar to where he was before. In fact, he might just be a little weaker than before. He would require a month of recuperation in order to slowly recover his strength. There are still other living creatures. When Wang Xian arrived at the eastern gate of the Dragon Palace, he was surprised to see 2 other races of creatures. He squinted his eyes and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The Swordfish race and the Anomalocris race have entered the Dragon Palace? Wang Xian was surprised. It wasn't easy for a marine creature to leap through the Dragon Gate. Based on Wang Xian's conjecture, those who could make it past the Dragon Gate would likely possess tremendous potential. Divine dragons were creatures with the most elite tier of bloodlines. Their criteria for choosing the members of the Dragon Palace would be highly stringent. Talent, bloodline, intelligence and willpower. None of this could be missing. Without exaggeration, those who could make it past the Dragon Gate would all have a high chance of becoming an existence that ranked among the most elite echelons of the universe. It was beyond Wang Xian's expectation that almost half of the Anomalocris and Swordfish races had made it into the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian's eyes beamed. After entering the Dragon Palace and looking across the Anomalocris and Swordfish race, he waved his arm. Dense streams of dragon energy entered the 9 venomous sea snakes, completely healing their injuries. When all of them are in, control them. Wang Xian ordered the 9 venomous sea snakes. After which, he looked in the direction of the Dragon King Hall. He moved and headed towards it at a speed half as fast as before. When he arrived at the Dragon King Hall, he looked curiously at the progenitor tree behind the dragon throne. At this point, the sole returning branch on the progenitor tree was glowing in an eerie grayish light. On this branch, gray flowers had grown. The gray flowers were extremely small and covered the entire branch. Agitation welled up in Wang Xian. He immediately jumped onto the dragon throne and looked at the gray flowers in anticipation. Soul Returning Flower, Level 12. Each petal represents a soul. Reforge the body and one shall be revived. A message surfaced in Wang Xian's mind. Wang Xian was taken aback but soon got excited. Reforge the body and one shall be revived. Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster and the others can still be revived. Wang Xian was shivering in excitement. Soul returning is indeed an insane ability. Who would have thought it could revive the dead? I must definitely revive the Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster and the others as soon as possible. At the thought that Roving Girl, Roving Lobster and the others had died for him, Wang Xian became overwhelmed with guilt. They were his subordinates, his most loyal subordinates. Whoosh! At this instant, Wang Xian could vaguely hear the sounds of flowing water. He looked across and realized that a small pool of dragon blood had filled the dragon transformation pool. The blood-red dragon blood was giving off a faint aroma. Wang Xian jumped and arrived at the edge of the dragon transformation pool. This is? Wang Xian opened his eyes widely and stared at the dragon transformation pool. The dragon transformation pool spanned 20 meters and reached a depth of 30 meters. At this point, the dragon transformation pool was approximately 5% full. Within this pool of dragon blood, there were drops of highly distinguishable golden blood. These drops of golden blood were in the shape of a turtle, lobster, devil monkeys and others. There were roughly 700 of these drops of golden blood. They were immersed in the blood pool and seemed to be in a state of suspension. This is the essence blood I injected into Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Girl, Roving Lobster and others. Now that they have been absorbed by the dragon transformation pool, they were not dissolved. Instead they are feeding off of the other dragon blood. Wang Xian's eyes lit up and he was ecstatic. He went over to the progenitor tree and plucked out all the flowers on the soul returning branch. Based on the soul returning flowers, he placed them onto the corresponding drop of golden blood. Bzz. The dragon essence blood emitted light of all colors. From the essence blood of Prime Minister Turtle, it gave off a dullish yellow glow and an image of a turtle flashed past quickly. From the essence blood of the clam girl, it gave off a blue light and similarly the image of a blue clam girl flashed across. Roving Lobster's essence blood. Would you like to grow and nurture the dragon species? At this moment, the voice of the system sounded. Grow and nurture. Wang Xian agreed immediately. Growing and nurturing the dragon species would require 20 days. The voice of the system responded again. Wang Xian revealed a faint smile. After 20 days, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest would be revived. Wang Xian looked at the dragon pool and the 9 divine dragon statues around the pool. Luckily, he'd gotten his hands on the progenitor tree and soul returning branch previously. It was also luck that there was something like the dragon transformation pool. Otherwise, Prime Minister Turtle and the rest would have really died. Although it was a brutal battle, the outcome was still acceptable. Wang Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He dragged his fatigued body towards the bedroom of the Dragon King. He was too tired and exhausted. When he lay on the incomparably huge bed, Wang Xian instantly fell asleep. At this very moment he wasn't aware how anxious Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu were above the sea surface. In fact, they were a little petrified as they stood on the deck of the yacht and looked into the sea. There was a storm on the surface. As the raindrops fell onto the yacht, large sounds that resembled ripened nuts falling on a metal sheet resounded. The 3 girls didn't care about their safety as they attempted to stare into the depths of the sea. No. I want to take a look down there. I want to take a look down there. Guan Shuqing shook her head and spoke with a flustered expression. She wasn't concerned about getting drenched by the rain. Her eyes were red but filled with resolve. Shuqing, I'll go with you. Xiao Xian will be fine. He will definitely be fine. Lan Qingyue gritted her teeth and held tightly to the arm of Guan Shuqing. Young ladies, young master isn't in any danger now. Please wait here. Behind them, Mo Qinglong, who was steering yacht, tried to dissuade them. Chapter 369 Blue Whale. Chapter 369, Blue Whale. After the massive and powerful race siege against Wang Xian, the terrifying oppression and the aftermath of the battle had risen to the sea surface. Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing, who were in deep sleep, were awakened immediately. They called out to Wang Xian but they never found him. Out of panic, they got Sun Lingxiu and Emo Qinglong, who heard their commotions, walked out. Emo Qinglong and Sun Lingxiu knew what Wang Xian was doing under the sea. As the terrifying impetus, oppression, and roarings came from the sea, they were all aghast. However, they sensed that Wang Xian was safe. After a long time, Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue could not stand still. The screams and bellows coming from the deep abyss of the sea were too horrifying. The two girls were wearing anxiety all over their faces. As time passed, they were overwhelmed with panic. Even Sun Lingxiu at the side could not remain calm. She looked towards the bottom of the sea with trepidation, ignoring the pouring rain from the sky. Rumble. At this time, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, bringing a glimmer of light to the darkness in the ocean. Boom boom. That is? At this time, a horrifying shadow showed up before the four of them. The gigantic shadow was more than 30 meters long. It was domineering. It's an ocean monster. Xiao Xian must be in danger now. Upon seeing the appalling figure diving into the sea, Guan Shuqing exclaimed in anxiety and fear. Tears rolled down her cheek immediately. Don't worry, that's only a blue whale. It may look huge, but an inborn expert can just kill it. Emo Qinglong explained from the side. No way, I want to have a look. I must enter this sea. Me too. As Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue spoke, they looked at the pitch-black sea with consternation, striding slowly towards it. I'll go with you girls, said Sun Lingxiu to them. This time Sun Lingxiu did not halt them. Emo Qinglong was frowning at the side as he knew he could not stop them either. Come with me. Emo Qinglong made a swift move and jumped into the sea directly. Without the slightest hesitation, the girls followed suit and leaped into the sea. Sensing the whereabouts of Wang Xian, Emo Qinglong swam rapidly towards him. The ocean was rather deep, and this was the first time these three girls had entered such an appalling ocean. But fear had not taken over them, as they only felt worry for someone else. As they dived rapidly to the bottom of the sea, the slightly weaker Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing almost could not cope when they were 1,000 meters below the sea. Sun Lingxiu, on their side, waved her hand, wrapping them with her light energy. For one who was practicing light divine dragon transformation like Sun Lingxiu, the ocean was no different from land. Gulp. Just then they saw that gigantic blue whale and swam deeper to the bottom of the sea. There's light over there. After diving another 200 to 300 meters deeper, the group of them stared with their wide-open eyes. They were shocked by what they saw at the bottom of the sea. That's a dragon palace. Excitement flashed in Emo Qinglong's eyes as he fervently looked below. That was his sacred ground. Dragon Palace. Both Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing were surprised as they turned to look at Emo Qinglong. Xiao Xian obtained a divine dragon inheritance. This is the dragon palace that he built underwater. He brought us here to let us visit the dragon palace. With a pair of glistening eyes, Sun Lingxiu stared at the dragon palace below as she explained slowly to Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. Lastly, she added, Xiao Xian wanted to give you two a surprise. Both Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing were overwhelmed as they stared dumbfoundedly at the miraculous dragon palace in the sea. The entire dragon palace was extravagant, spectacular, and towering, so much so that no other buildings in the world could compare to it. It was bright within the palace with all kinds of glowing corals. There were huge mountains with columns, giving off a golden radiance. All these struck a deep impression on them. They swam downwards above the dragon array, but they ended up knocking themselves against it. They were taken by surprise as they touched the array. SSSS. At this time, a venomous sea snake sensed something and looked over at Emo Qinglong and Sun Lingxiu. The snake felt a similar aura from them. Is the Dragon King around? Emo Qinglong asked that venomous sea snake directly. Since they shared the same divine dragon bloodline, communication was not a problem. SSSS. That venomous sea snake rolled its tongue and reported to the Dragon King Hall after some hesitation. That is? What was that? Guan Shuqing stared at the horrifying-looking venomous sea snake and asked this while gaping. Whatever had unfolded before her was too shocking for her to speak. One of the members of the Dragon Palace. Emo Qinglong answered. Dragon King, there are two humans with divine dragon bloodline outside. When Wang Xian was sleeping soundly, the voice of a venomous sea snake came through the royal residence hall. He patted his muzzy head. 2 humans? Dragon King, it's 4 humans, the venomous sea snake replied. 4? Wang Xian froze for a moment, but he quickly thought of Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. In a swift movement he darted out. Wang Xian saw the gang as soon as he walked out of his bedroom. Making a rapid move, Wang Xian swam towards them. He peered at the southern gate and northern gate and spotted 8 venomous sea snakes crouching not far away from him. They were staring coldly at the 2 races. The 2 race leaders seemed to be having a conversation with them. Wang Xian did not have the energy to care about it. He showed up before the girls after walking out of the western gate. Xiao Xian, you frightened us. When the 2 girls saw him coming over, their eyes were red as tears could not stop flowing down their cheeks. They immediately sprang on him. Cough cough. I'm fine. Wang Xian felt pain all over his body with the knock as he quickly assured them. Xiao Xian, are you all right? Upon hearing his severe cough, Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue were worried as they looked at him. I'm fine. I sustained minor injuries just now. I'll be all right after a recuperation. Wang Xian shook his head. Her? Sun Lingxiu quickly paced to Wang Xian, and a beam of light entered his body. You call these minor injuries? Sun Lingxiu had a change in her look as beams of light energy were cast into Wang Xian's body. It's nothing. I'll recover after a month of rest. Wang Xian shook his head and threw them an assuring smile. I wanted to give you 2 a surprise. Little did I expect some other circumstances to occur. Sorry to make you worry. I'll show you around my dragon palace. Wang Xian spoke with a smile as he held the hands of the 2 girls. Xiao Xian, are you really all right? The 2 girls asked with concern again. Yes, look at me. I can fly, I can jump. Do I look like something is wrong with me? Wang Xian beamed to them and pulled them towards the dragon palace. Chapter 370 Female Dragon Riders. Chapter 370 Female Dragon Riders. After leading Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and the rest into the dragon palace, Wang Xian looked at the huge blue whale above him. However, he wasn't too concerned about it. The blue whale was just a large creature. Its attacking capacity was very weak and it wasn't even in the inborn realm. The dragon palace has 4 entrances. The eastern gate, western gate, southern gate and northern gate. What do you guys think? Aren't the dragon gates majestic? Wang Xian smiled and introduced the place to Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and the rest. It feels like we are entering the giant's world. All the structures here are so huge. As the girls entered the dragon palace, they wrapped their arms around Wang Xian and were dumbfounded by what they were seeing. Each pillar was at least 50 to 60 meters tall. Some were even over 100 meters tall. On both sides there were majestic mountains. Each step was over half a meter tall. The path of the dragon palace was extremely broad. All these things were new to the girls and they were observing their surroundings carefully. While the group looked on in awe, Wang Xian stayed by the side and maintained a gentle smile. After walking for 10 minutes, they arrived at the Dragon King Hall. This is the Dragon King Hall and that's the Dragon Throne. The 2 rows by the side are for the officials of the Dragon Palace. Dragon Throne. Oh gosh, what a huge dragon throne. This golden column is really huge. It must be the sea-stabilizing immortal column. Oh gosh, this must be the sea-stabilizing immortal column in the legends. Every engraving of the divine dragon looks so vivid. It is as though they could come alive at any moment. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue pointed at different areas as they exclaimed. Behind the throne is the sea-stabilizing immortal column and dragon transformation pool. If one undergoes baptism in the dragon transformation pool, he receives the bloodline of the divine dragon and could evolve into a dragon in the future. Wang Xian continued his introduction. Can one really turn into a dragon? Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue stared at him and asked inquisitively. Yeah, it's possible. Wang Xian nodded his head and continued, let's go. I'll bring you guys to the highest point to see the entire dragon palace. Wang Xian moved and a stream of water surrounded them and brought them to the peak rapidly. Pointing forward, he said jokingly, look, this is the empire I have conquered for you. Looking down at the entire dragon palace, the group was even more in awe. This place was just like a place of miracles. The sacred ground that only existed in legends. Xiao Xian, it's better if you take a break to recuperate. After looking around for some time, Sun Lingxiu reminded him of this. I'm fine. The injuries will heal gradually. Wang Xian shook his head. Where are your wounds? Let us take a look, asked Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue caringly. Let's go. I'll bring you guys to the last place. My bedroom. Wang Xian chuckled. Moving again, he brought them to his bedroom below. When Mo Qinglong heard that it was the bedroom of the Dragon King, he didn't follow. Therefore, he continued observing the entire Dragon Palace. Wow! What a huge room! When they entered, Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue were shocked by how big the bedroom was. The bedroom was over 1,000 square meters with incomparably luxurious decorations. It was especially so for the middle of the room. There was a huge bed that spanned 50 meters. This could very well make it to the Guinness World Records. What a huge bed! Why is it so big? The three girls were dumbfounded. Wang Xian chuckled, jumped and landed on the bed. The soft bed was exceptionally comfortable. All right. Xiao Xian, how did you get yourself injured? Are your injuries serious? Let us take a look. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue walked over and asked caringly. Although the injuries are serious, I'll be able to make a full recovery in a month or so, Wang Xian replied with a laugh. Let us take a look. Guan Shuqing kneeled on the bed and pouted. You don't know how worried we are. All right. Wang Xian hesitated for a while before releasing his top. His clothes were made from water streams. Therefore they disappeared with just a thought. Sun Lingxiu, who was standing by the side, blushed in embarrassment. She took a glance at Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue before heading out. With the top gone, the wounds on Wang Xian were revealed. Those wounds were still bright red and looked a little horrifying. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue gasped and expressed their concerns. Xiao Xian, does it hurt? It's still all right. Wang Xian chuckled. He wasn't willing to expend a huge amount of dragon energy to heal his injuries, and therefore he still had lots of wounds on him. Moreover, they looked extremely serious. Are there other wounds? Guan Shuqing tapped lightly on the wounds of Wang Xian, frowning as she asked. I have some injuries on my legs too. Wang Xian chuckled, rolled his eyes, and the pants that were formed from the water disappeared, leaving only underwear. This? The wounds on Wang Xian's legs were even more serious. The two girls tapped lightly on the wounds while shivering slightly in fear. A sizzling and numbing sensation cruised through him and aroused Wang Xian. Pop! At this instant, the underwear that was formed from the water was poked through by something. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue were taken by surprise. Soon their faces were blushing in embarrassment. Wang Xian looked at them kneeling on the bed. Those alluring figures. He could no longer hold himself back. He didn't seem to have noticed that something had popped out. Arg, I'm hurting. I need treatment. Wang Xian growled softly. Ha! The two girls were surprised. They shifted their gazes away and asked, What happened, Xiao Xian? Where are you hurting? I have a treatment method. Wang Xian continued mumbling and started his explanation. The treatment method required the cordial combination of yin and yang and neutralizing the desires of one. Wang Xian held the hands of the girls and was constantly luring and acting pitifully. Perhaps it was because Wang Xian was injured. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue eventually became noble dragon riders. Real female dragon riders. Wang Xian was exhilarated to do so with Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing at the same time on the 50-meter bed. Despite being the proud and noble divine dragon, he didn't feel aggrieved after being ridden. All he hoped for was more instances of such experiences. After 2 hours, the three of them slept on the bed. When Wang Xian woke up, the two girls were already awake and were wearing their clothes. When they saw Wang Xian opening his eyes, they gave him a harsh stare. Wang Xian chuckled and pulled Lan Qingyue over. Qingyue, let your hubby give you a present. What's the present? Don't be so touchy. Lan Qingyue said in a coquettish tone as she fell on the soft bed and covered her body. It's really a present and not the billions I gave you last night. Wang Xian smiled bitterly. Waving his hand, the drop of essence soul from the cabinet beside the bed flew towards him. What's this? Lan Qingyue turned over. Seeing that it wasn't the billions that he'd given her the previous night, she heaved a sigh of relief and looked over. Guan Shuqing also stared curiously at the essence soul, which harbored incredible energy. This is an inheritance from the ancient god Kuan breeder, a powerful race, explained Wang Xian plainly. Chapter 371 Goddess Kuan Breeder. Chapter 371, Goddess Kuan Breeder. Inheritance? From ancient god Kuan Breeder? What's that? Asked Lan Qingyue to Wang Xian with surprise. Take it and you'll know. Wang Xian chuckled. Shuqing possesses the fire elemental talent in her cultivation because she has the Suzaku blood essence. Towards the later stage of her cultivation, she can evolve into one of the great races in this universe, Suzaku. This ancient god Kuan breeder's inheritance is as good as Suzaku. Suzaku? Ancient god Kuan breeder? Lan Qingyue was filled with disbelief. She did not know about ancient god Kuan breeder, but she knew about Suzaku. That was the most powerful divine beast among the myths, the legendary phoenix. Blood essence of Suzaku. Guan Shuqing was taken by surprise. Wang Xian did not shed light on the blood essence of Suzaku to her. But when she thought of the mighty and domineering phoenix she sometimes dreamt of, all her doubts were finally answered. So I have the blood essence of Suzaku. No wonder I've noticed I have the natural ability to control fires ever since that time. I don't even feel the pain when boiling water is spilled on me. My cultivation speed is breakneck. Even Master told me that I'm a rare genius in cultivation. Guan Shuqing said, enlightened. This is the effect of the blood essence of Suzaku. It is most likely because you obtained the inheritance of Suzaku that your strength is boosted. Wang Xian was uncertain as he spoke. Guan Shuqing had absorbed the blood essence of Suzaku. Still, he was unsure if she had obtained the inheritance of Suzaku. However, Lan Qingyue would get the inheritance of ancient god Kuan breeder after she absorbed the essence soul. She would learn all the secrets about the art of cultivation from the ancient god race. Lan Qingyue took the essence soul of ancient god Kuan breeder from Wang Xian and popped it into her mouth. As the essence soul entered her body, immense energy was exuded from her body. A bout of quaint, dignified vintage aura slowly dispersed to the surroundings from her body. With a thought, Lan Qingyue sat on the bed with her legs crossed as she accepted the inheritance of ancient god Kuan breeder. Her strength is rapidly improving. Within seconds she has attained half-step to Inborn realm. If she possesses the entire inheritance, her strength can hit level 11. Wang Xian was also shocked as he observed the increasing power of Lan Qingyue. A drop of almost diminishing blood essence, yet contained such domineering energy. No doubt the ancient god clan was powerful. That was why supreme-class races and clans had to join hands in wiping them out. Let's go. We shall leave Qingyue alone. Wang Xian climbed out from his bed and whispered to Guan Shuqing. When they walked out of the bedroom, Sun Lingxiu threw a beaming face as she stared at Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing. Xiao Xian, you better pay attention to your health. Wang Xian was slightly stunned as Sun Lingxiu sounded as if she intended more than what she said. He smiled. He did not have to move, so there was absolutely no problem. Dragon King, the Anomalocaris, and Swordfish races are willing to join the Dragon Palace. At this time, a venomous sea snake swam over to Wang Xian and reported respectfully. Did they agree to join? A trace of happiness was exhibited on Wang Xian's face. He quickly asked, have they all jumped over the dragon gate? Yes, all of them did. So we gave them two choices. Either we kill them or they join the dragon sect. They chose the latter. The voice of the venomous sea snake continued to be heard. Wang Xian giggled. During the battle he had already taken notice of those two strange races. From their eyes he could see intelligent radiance. Moreover, Wang Xian felt the power of thunder from the Anomalocaris. As for the Swordfish race, they had the metallic radiance. Both races possessed elemental attacks. Out of those races that had besieged them yesterday, only Anomalocaris and Swordfish race came with attack properties. Even as mighty as Pliosaurus, Dunkleistus, and Mega Teeth Shark were, they did not have it. All they had was a powerful bloodline. Bring them over. Yes, Dragon King. The venomous sea snake made a swift movement and swam out of the Dragon King Hall. Wang Xian smiled as he sat on the dragon throne. Guan Shuqing and Sun Lingxiu witnessed the amazing scene with flickering eyes as they stared at Wang Xian with admiration. Greetings to the Dragon King. Soon, a level 11 bluish Anomalocaris, with flashing radiance of thunder at its two front limbs, led about 200 Anomalocaris over. They swam over and bowed on the floor with respect. Hundreds of swordfish were floating above the ground as they shouted in synchrony. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them with a satisfying expression. The prawn species was a compelling race. Just take the most common mantis shrimps for example. Their two massive forelimbs could strike with great power. It was so powerful that they could break the aquarium glass. The Anomalocaris before him had similar forelimbs as the mantis shrimps. In addition, they had terrifying thunder attribution. Beside them were swordfish, a very common marine species. But the swordfish race before them was very different. They had a protruding part on their heads, which seemed like razor-sharp swords, giving off a metallic radiance. Any creatures would be killed if they were to be pierced by it. Count yourself lucky to join the Dragon Palace. After the other members of the Dragon Palace are resurrected, I'll assign your departments. Now here's your opportunity. Wang Xian slowly stood up and imparted upon them the cultivation arts of Metal Dragon Transformation and Thunder Dragon Transformation. After this, he looked towards the 9 venomous sea snakes. Take them to the Dragon Transformation Pool for Dragon Blood Baptism. The 9 of you will guard the Dragon Palace now. After Prime Minister Turtle and the rest are resurrected, you'll also have your Dragon Blood Baptism in the Dragon Transformation Pool. Thank you, Dragon King. The Anomalocaris and Swordfish were looking excited as they quickly replied at the top of their lungs. Go on. Wang Xian waved them off. Wow, Xiao Xian. You looked so impressive just now. Dragon King, that's so cool. When Guan Shuqing saw the majestic-looking Wang Xian, she walked over with admiration and smiles as she spoke. Hee hee, of course. Wang Xian chuckled. What do you want to eat? You must be hungry. Let's get some food. For the next 2 days, Wang Xian recuperated in the Dragon Palace. Lan Qingyue, who had been receiving her inheritance, suddenly opened her eyes when Wang Xian was sleeping after Guan Shuqing rode on top of him. A huge beast flashed across her eyes. A torrent of controlled and terrifying energy was filling her body. The majestic, quaint, and magnificent aura surrounded her. But as soon as she spotted Wang Xian and Guan Shuqing by her side, she rolled her eyes. She walked out of the bedroom with a beaming face. But she knit her eyebrows slightly as soon as she saw the Anomalocaris and Swordfish races. But after she lifted her chin and saw the blue whale swimming above the Dragon Palace, her eyes were filled with a pleasant surprise. Chapter 372 Whale Kuan. Chapter 372, Whale Kuan. Kuan was one of the 5 strongest and most fearsome monsters in the universe. Its body could grow to over a few thousand miles. When in the water they could swim. When in the air they could transform into a rock and fly. It was truly an existence feared by many. Kuan were bred to be warring creatures by the ancient god race, one of the most elite races in the universe. The breeding and nurturing of Kuan was also the core secret in the ancient god race and their biggest reliance. Lan Qingyue's eyes were filled with excitement as she stared at the blue whale that was swimming above the Dragon Palace. The breeding of a Kuan will require a great amount of energy. From birth till it grows to a few thousand miles in size, the amount of energy required is beyond imagination. In the breeding of Kuan, the most important aspects would be energy extraction and bloodline refining. The more the Kuan eats, the faster its power could grow. Therefore, a Kuan is also commonly referred to as a devouring Kuan. A blue whale needs to consume 4 to 8 tons of food each day. This amount of energy is just sufficient for its daily usage and doesn't include the extraction of energy and refining the blood of what it consumed. Moreover, the bloodline of the blue whale is very pure. It does not possess any tinge of bloodline from strong races and therefore won't face the same limits that were imposed in some bloodlines. Through the arts of Kuan breeding, it can grow into an exceptionally powerful Kuan in the future. Lan Qingyue mumbled to herself as she stared hard at the blue whale. Her eyes were shimmering with a strange glow and she seemed capable of seeing through the blue whale. Let's try breeding it. Lan Qingyue looked at the dragon blood in the dragon transforming pool and was filled with excitement. Soon after, she left the Dragon Palace through the southern gate. Lan Qingyue was fast and she faced no resistance in the water. She had a mysterious aura around her and this made her, who was already beautiful, even more elegant. When Lan Qingyue approached the blue whale, the gigantic blue whale seemed to have felt something. It turned its gigantic head towards Lan Qingyue instantly. The blue whale ejected a stream of bubbles from its blowhole. It wanted to be closer to Lan Qingyue using its head as it could feel a sense of familiarity and closeness with her. Lan Qingyue smiled when she saw this. As an ancient god Kuan breeder, she had a disposition about her that made all beasts feel close to her. The energy in the blue whale is comparable to an inborn expert. However, it did not activate it. As a result, even though it has an enormous body, it is still very weak. Lan Qingyue said softly as she places her hands onto the blue whale's body. A drop of blood from her hand landed on the blue whale's head. Immediately, a stream of decadent and grayish energy started flowing from Lan Qingyue's hand and encompassed the entire whale. Oh! The blue whale was swaying its body slightly, causing turbulence in the water. Within his body, huge transformations were ongoing. The skeletal structure of the blue whale wasn't very strong. As the grayish energy flowed into its body started to decay fast. Its bones, flesh, organs, and skin started to be mortified. The energy in its bones, flesh, organs, and skin were extracted, and this enormous amount of energy flowed into the blue whale's blood. Its blood was being refined rapidly, and the red and viscous blood started to emit a faint glow. Soon after, the glowing blood started to flow throughout the blue whale's body. The whole process lasted for about an hour, and the blue whale's skin now looked tougher. A decadent scent could be picked up instantly. It was just like a zombie that had died a few thousand years ago. Breeding Kuan has some similarities with zombies. Lan Qingyue exclaimed as she witnessed the drastic changes happening to the whale. Zombies were simply from the corpses of ordinary people. When one died, it could be transformed into an invincible zombie through special rituals. The current conditions of the blue whale were similar to a zombie, but also had differences. The whale still possessed strong intelligence and vitality. Ancient god Kuan breeder had been making use of such tough methods to breed a creature with a normal bloodline into an exceptionally strong Kuan. The strength of the blue whale is now only at the inborn realm. I will get some dragon blood from Xiao later. In this way I can raise the level of the blue whale to level 11. Lan Qingyue squinted her eyes. Through this she would be able to help Xiao in the future. Oh, Master. At this moment, the blue whale which was beside Lan Qingyue let out a soft moan. Alright. It seems like you have fully received the cultivation arts of Kuan. From now onwards I shall be calling you Xiao Lan. Lan Qingyue said to the blue whale with a bright smile. Yes, Master. Xiao Lan nodded its head and replied. Its gigantic body remained behind Lan Qingyue as a display of deference. Xiao is awake. You can just hang around here now. Lan Qingyue looked in the direction of the Dragon Palace and saw Wang Xian. The next instant she went over to the Dragon King Hall rapidly. Xiao. What's the matter, Qingyue? Wang Xian knew Lan Qingyue had woken up as he did not see Lan Qingyue when he opened his eyes. He then started to scrutinize her from head to toe. I'm fine. Lan Qingyue pounced into the embrace of Wang Xian ecstatically. Xiao, I have reached the Dan realm currently after accepting the inheritance of the ancient god race. Look there. Xiao, that is Xiao Lan, my first Kuan. She pointed at the blue whale which was outside the Dragon Palace as she spoke. Is it? Wang Xian was astonished. She could start breeding a Kuan right after accepting the inheritance of the ancient god race. These ancient god Kuan breeders were indeed terrifying. Yeah, Xiao Lan is now in the inborn realm. It also has a strong defense, so strong that even Dan realm creatures couldn't injure it. Xiao, can you give me some dragon blood? With it, I can strengthen it to level 11. Lan Qingyue remarked with a sense of accomplishment. You could bring it to level 11 with just some dragon blood. Wang Xian was dumbfounded. This speed of leveling was a little insane. Yeah. Lan Qingyue nodded her head heavily. Alright, follow me. I'll go get some for you. Wang Xian nodded his head. After which, he carried Lan Qingyue as he flew towards the dragon transforming pool. How much do you need? Wang Xian looked at the dragon blood inside the pool and asked with a bright smile. There was lots of dragon blood in the pool, but the dragon blood was just level 11. The level of the blood was dependent on the blood of the creatures it was absorbed from. The stronger the creatures, the higher the level of the refined dragon blood. About 1,000 caddies will suffice. Lan Qingyue said with a smile. The next moment she waved her arm and extracted a stream of dragon blood. Wang Xian nodded his head. 1,000 caddies of dragon blood wasn't much. The dragon transformation pool had over 10 tons of dragon blood. These were the refined products of the corpses and blood of creatures that had previously attacked the Dragon Palace. Let's go. I'd like to take a look at the Kuan you are breeding. Wang Xian and Lan Qingyue moved and arrived beside the blue whale. With a wave of her arm, Lan Qingyue directed the dragon blood she extracted previously into the body of the blue whale directly. Chapter 373 Immortal Substance. Chapter 373 Immortal Substance. Roar. Above the dragon palace, the blue whale let out a roar like an overlord. Its gigantic body looked even more robust than ever. The biggest change was found at its head and mouth. After swallowing the dragon blood, its head became sharper with enormous teeth growing out from its mouth. The head of the blue whale was huge, occupying 2/5 of the entire body mass. That meant that its head could reach a dozen meters when it was more than 30 meters long. Each tooth was about 3 or 4 meters. All of them were gray, creepy-looking, and extremely durable. What a huge change. If it has enough blood, wouldn't we be able to nurture a powerful Kuan rapidly? Whale Kuan, level 11. Unable to extract dragon energy. When Wang Xian read the information, he was appalled by the speedy evolution process. It was even faster than those members from the Dragon Palace who went to the Dragon Transformation Pool. Xiao Xian, the level of the Kuan has got something to do with my ability. The Kuan that I raise cannot exceed my own level. Moreover, I can only keep one now with my current ability. I'll need to reach a higher level before I can raise another one, Lan Qingyue explained to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded slightly. The speed of raising a Kuan, if raised by the ancient god Kuan breeder, was unbelievable, but it had a lot of limitations. A supreme-class ancient god Kuan breeder could at most rear 10 Kuns. Through Lan Qingyue's explanation, the rearing of Kuan required feeding of the bloodline. In other words, even if other races got hold of the rearing techniques, they could not rear one. Now that Lan Qingyue was the last Kuan breeder in this universe, the ancient god Kuan breeder clan could only flourish when Wang Xian and her gave birth to their offspring. Back at the Yellow River the other time when those creatures were zombified, their sizes actually grew by multiple times. Why didn't this blue whale grow too? Wang Xian asked with curiosity. If the size of the blue whale were enhanced by more than 10-fold, it would be crazily huge. A creature that was a few hundred or even up to 1,000 meters was nowhere to be seen in history. The size of Xiaolan is just nice now. Any bigger will reduce its defense. When it reaches level 12, it will double its size to 70 meters. Lan Qingyue explained. Level 12 can grow to 70 meters. When it's level 13, it can grow to more than 100 meters. That means it can grow to a few thousand meters when it's level 17 or 18. Wang Xian did some math and stared at the blue whale. He will become a gigantic warring beast in the future. A picture was formed in Wang Xian's mind. Members of the Dragon Palace stood close to one another before this domineering Kuan of unknown size. Conquer the universe and the millions of clans and races. Impressive. Wang Xian's eyes were brightened up while Lan Qingyue rolled her eyes at him. Xiao Xian, I want Xiaolan to enter the Dragon Palace so that he can cultivate here and guard the palace for you. Sure, of course. Are you hungry? Let's go and have something. Wang Xian let out hearty laughter and hugged Lan Qingyue before he swam towards the Dragon Palace. Dragon King. As soon as he entered, 9 venomous sea snakes swam over with something in their mouths. This is? Wang Xian looked at the 9 venomous sea snakes with a stunned look as he checked out several large bodies. The bodies of the Aurora jellyfish weren't absorbed by the Dragon Transformation Pool. He was slightly surprised. Immortal jellyfish, level 11, substance form. Soulless state. Resurrected with another soul. No, even the names have changed. They have become immortal jellyfish. I can revive them with another soul. The message in Wang Xian's mind reminded him of another thing which was recorded in the Divine Dragon Transformation. Immortal substance. Just as suggested by its name, it was non-perishable. Unless the substance was reduced to ashes, it would live forever. This referred to vitality, which had a significant difference from stones and soil. Once a soul entered into one of these immortal substances, it could share an eternal life together with it. Wang Xian had a hesitant look on his face as he looked at the bodies of those immortal jellyfish. If he put some souls into the bodies of these immortal jellyfish, they could be revived. Since they would be strong, with powerful assaulting capabilities, they could make excellent subordinates. However, it was hard to upgrade the immortal substance's levels. They could only upgrade when they absorbed another immortal substance. Humans discovered that Turritopsis nutricula can have eternal life. That is to say, immortal jellyfish are evolved from Turritopsis nutricula. Dig a cave in one of the mountains and place them inside. Wang Xian ordered the 9 venomous sea snakes. The immortal substance was a powerful existence. Coupling it with soul-returning branch, Wang Xian could build an undying jellyfish race. As such, This was an extremely precious resource that could come in handy in the future. Back in his bedroom, Wang Xian ordered a venomous sea snake to hunt for food so that he could enjoy a table of seafood delicacy with Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu. The ingredients were made up of high-level marine creatures. If he brought it to first-grade restaurant, someone would buy it even if it was priced at $10 million. Subsequently, Wang Xian stayed in the Dragon Palace for another 2 days while waiting for Prime Minister Turtle and the rest to resurrect. On the third day, however, Lan Qingyue received a series of messages on her phone when she returned to the yacht to pass instructions for some development issues in Lan family. What? When she read the messages, she was stunned. Immediately, she frowned and leaped into the sea back to the Dragon Palace. Xiao, bad news. Xiao is in trouble. What? Wang Xian was enjoying his time on his bed when he heard the anxious voice of Lan Qingyue. He shot up and responded with a growing sullen expression on his face. Xiao Xian, these are the messages that sect leader Tang used to send with Elder Fang's phone. Lan Qingyue handed the phone to Wang Xian with a stern look. There were over 10 messages with the first few talking about Xiao and Elder Fang's situation. They had been poisoned when they were sparring with someone. The injuries were severe, and Wang Xian was wanted as soon as possible. The fact that the messages had been sent 2 days ago caused Wang Xian to darken his expression rapidly. Let's go back now. Wang Xian could not wait for Prime Minister Turtle and the rest to resurrect. He quickly walked out of the Dragon Palace and headed for the yacht. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu and Mo Qinglong all followed behind. When Wang Xian went back to the room in the yacht, he picked up his phone on the table immediately. He realized the phone had run out of battery, so he quickly connected it to the charger and turned it on. There were over dozens of missed calls, in which most of them were made by sect leader Tang. Wang Xian's expression was even more sullen. He quickly called back sect leader Tang of Thistles and Thorns sect. Miracle Dr. Wang, you finally returned my call. Sect leader Tang's old and tired voice was heard from the phone. Chapter 374, Xiao met with a mishap. Chapter 374, Xiao met with a mishap. Sect leader Tang, what happened to my sister? Wang Xian took a deep breath before asking sect leader Tang directly. Xiao and her master were poisoned by strange venom. Both of them are currently unconscious. Miracle Dr. Wang, where are you? It would be best if you can come over and take a look immediately, answered sect leader Tang hurriedly. All right. I will return immediately and will reach you by night. Where is Xiao now? Wang Xian asked with a gloomy face. She is in the villa. We have asked Sui Huang for help, but there's nothing much he could do. Sect leader Tang sounded flustered when she spoke. I get it. Please take care of Xiao and Elder Fang. I will head back immediately. Wang Xian pulled a long face as he hung up the phone. What's the matter, Xiao Xian? What happened to Xiao? I got a phone message from Elder Fang too. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue walked in and asked anxiously. They had been in the Dragon Palace over the last few days. At a depth of over 1,000 meters, there was no reception at all. As such, they had left their phones on the yacht. If it wasn't for Lan Qingyue wanting to settle some company matters, they wouldn't have known something had happened to Xiao. She sparred with someone and was poisoned in the process. Elder Fang was poisoned too. The message was likely from sect leader Tang. Wang Xian's expression turned gloomy. Poison while sparring? Sui Huang couldn't do anything with the venom? Although Sui Huang was not a miracle doctor, he was a Dan realm expert and an experienced alchemist. His understanding of poison wouldn't be shallow. If there's nothing he could do about this venom, it must be something extraordinary. To be severely poisoned when sparring? Wang Xian's expression turned gloomier. Dense killing intent gleamed in his eyes. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue saw his expression. They immediately tried to comfort and calm him down. The yacht steered swiftly towards River Town. Their location was rather far from River Town and it would take approximately 10 hours. When the yacht arrived at the villa, it was already 8 p.m. Wang Xian leaped out of the yacht and into the villa. Young master. When Wang Xian entered the villa, Mo Yuan immediately greeted him. Wang Xian didn't speak much and headed for the room directly. Young master, Xiao is in the room on the second floor, remarked Mo Yuan instantly. Wang Xian nodded his head. He didn't take the stairs but instead jumped to the second floor directly and quickly made his way to the door. Bam! Miracle Dr. Wang, you are here. Xiao and her master are still unconscious. Sect leader Tang stood up immediately the moment he saw Wang Xian and spoke in a fatigued tone. "Let me take a look." Wang Xian turned his attention to Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. Their faces were as white as chalk without any signs of blood. Around them, a deathly aura was shrouding over them. Wang Xian reached his arm out and placed his hand on Xiao Yu solemnly. Dragon energy was injected into Xiao Yu directly. "This is?" The moment the dragon energy flowed into Xiao Yu, Wang Xian had a grasp of what was happening inside Xiao Yu. Densely packed black dots were scattered all over her body. It looked dreadful. These black dots were slowly absorbing the life energy of Xiao Yu and seemed to have fused with her. "Cleanse?" Wang Xian pulled a long face and attempted to cleanse the black dots away with dragon energy. As the dragon energy cleansed one of the dots, Xiao Yu grimaced in pain. Cold sweat broke out and streamed down her forehead. Wang Xian turned gloomy. A female disciple from Thistles and Thorns sect immediately used a tower to wipe away the sweat from Xiao Yu's body. Miracle Dr. Wang Sui Huang said Xiao Yu and her master suffered from the black bone venom and the poison is now deeply rooted and fused with their bodies. Using brute strength to cleanse the poison would be equivalent to scrapping their bones with knives. The pain is still secondary. The main issue is that the black bone venom has fused into their bodies and is absorbing 80% of their life energy. Cleansing them will kill only Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. Sect leader Tang was bitter as she spoke. She knew about what Sui Huang was capable of from Elder Fong. He was an existence that only existed in records. If an expert that was above the inborn realm said that they had no hope of recovering, that would almost be equivalent to. Upon hearing sect leader Tang, Wang Xian pulled a long face. He slowed down and used dragon energy to inspect the venom. Just like Sui Huang had diagnosed, Wang Xian realized how thorny the situation was after inspecting Xiao Yu's body. This was the first time he'd encountered venom that couldn't be cleansed with dragon energy. The black bone venom in Xiao Yu had fused with her. Furthermore, the venom was absorbing 80% of her life energy. This resulted in Xiao Yu losing consciousness. If he was to cleanse the venom, he would kill Xiao Yu in the process. What a sinister venom. This is equivalent to letting Xiao Yu and Elder Fong spend the rest of their lives in bed. Dense killing intent leaked out from Wang Xian's body. He caressed Xiao Yu's head and injected streams of azure dragon energy into her body. When the azure dragon energy entered Xiao Yu's body, Wang Xian was shocked to see the black dots absorbing the energy too. Sect leader Tang, did Sui Huang give any other information on the black bone venom? Wang Xian asked with a gloomy face. Nothing else. The so-called black bone venom is also just a name coined by Sui Huang himself. I have been researching this venom for the last few days and haven't come across anything, sect leader Tang said in a dismal tone. No information. Wang Xian clenched his fist tightly. He looked at Xiao Yu and Elder Fong's pale expressions and was thinking hard for a solution. Miracle Dr. Wang, do you have any solutions? Sect leader Tang looked at him and asked anxiously. Xiao Yu was the hope of the Thistles and Thorns sect and Elder Fong had now reached the half-step to inborn realm. It would just be a matter of time before she reached the inborn realm. If something were to happen to them, it would be a huge blow to Thistles and Thorns sect. Wang Xian did not reply. At this moment, Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue and Sun Lingxiu entered the room. When they saw Xiao Yu and Elder Fong lying on the bed, and the gloomy Wang Xian, their hearts skipped a beat. Sun Lingxiu was surprised to see Wang Xian's gloomy expression. She waved her arm and dazzling rays shrouded Xiao Yu and Elder Fong. Sun Lingxiu's eyebrows knitted together and she used her light attribute energy to inspect them again. When the light energy shone on their bodies, it was absorbed immediately. Sensing the conditions, she frowned more deeply. Dragon transforming pool. That's the only potential option now. Wang Xian thought hard about this option. The dragon transformation pool had the effect of cleansing one's physical body. With the power effects of the dragon transformation pool, there was a chance the black bone venom could be removed from their bodies. Before that, let's try to help them regain their consciousness. After that, Wang Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. He was determined to find the culprit. If the culprit had the antidote, it would be best. Otherwise, annihilate the entire clan or sect. Or perhaps the outcome would be the same with or without the antidote. Chapter 375, Bloodbath, 1. Chapter 375, Bloodbath, 1. Zing. Wang Xian ejected the wood dragon ball of the wood element from his mouth and into his hand after looking at Xiao Yu and Elder Fong, who were lying in bed. As he bent forward, Wang Xian placed the wood dragon ball into Xiao Yu's mouth, which proceeded to enter her body. Instantaneously, the energy of the azure dragon transferred itself from the wood dragon ball into Xiao Yu's body. This returned some blush to her otherwise pale face. "Xiao Yu, I'm your elder bro." Wang Xian called out to Xiao Yu softly. "Huh?" Xiao Yu uttered before she opened her heavy eyelids to look at Wang Xian. "Elder bro, you're here. That's wonderful. I thought I'd ever see you again." Xiao Yu struggled while managing a smile. "That won't happen, Xiao Yu. If you want to see me, you can do so anytime." Wang Xian coaxed as he rubbed Xiao Yu's head gently. "Elder bro, I won't die, will I?" Xiao Yu asked Wang Xian weakly. "You won't. With Elder bro around, you'll always be safe and sound, Xiao Yu." Wang Xian assured Xiao Yu with a determined look. "Rest assured I'll help you recover," he affirmed. "You're the best elder bro." Xiao Yu smiled before she turned over to look at Elder Fong, who was beside her. "Elder bro, please treat my master as well. She was injured because she tried to save me. So you have to treat her." Xiao Yu pleaded with Wang Xian as she looked back. "Don't worry, both of you will be fine," Wang Xian promised confidently. After a brief moment of hesitation as she stood by the side, Sun Lingxiu ejected the illuminating pearl, which she'd obtained prior, from her mouth, and placed it into Elder Fong's mouth. As both the Wood Dragon Ball and Illuminating Pearl possessed formidable healing powers, they could help the duo in regaining consciousness. Elder Fong awoke gradually. As she did, she looked on at Wang Xian and the rest in confusion, while her delicate face beamed with a smile. "Miracle Dr. Wang, Sect Leader Xiao Yu," Elder Fong called out. "Prepare some food." Sect Leader Tang instructed immediately as he spoke to a female disciple of the Thistles and Thorns sect. "Don't worry, I'll make sure you recover," Wang Xian promised Elder Fong while facing her. "I believe in your medical skills, Miracle Dr. Wang," Elder Fong accepted with a beam. Wang Xian nodded with ease. As the exchanges between Wang Xian, Xiao Yu and Elder Fong ended, the female disciple of the Thistles and Thorns sect came back with 2 bowls of porridge. Wang Xian watched as the duo finished their food before he stepped out with a burdened look. With Sect Leader Tang following behind, the two came to the living room situated at the level below. "Sect Leader Tang, could you elaborate on the details?" Wang Xian asked with a dull expression as he sat on the sofa alongside Sect Leader Tang. 4 days ago, Xiao Yu and Xian Fang were back at the sect ground to discuss some matters. They happened to receive news about the discovery of an ancient tomb. Interested, they went over to see if they could recover any treasures. In the end, they were attacked by the young master of the Nine Lotus sect, and struck by lethal poison. Sect Leader Tang explained. "According to the information I've obtained, it was the young master of the Nine Lotus sect who made lewd remarks towards the duo, which led to Xiao Yu exchanging counters with him. In the end." "Nine Lotus sect?" Wang Xian uttered with a cold stare, as savage intention flashed across his eyes. "They're a first-class force with 5 inborn experts within their ancestral sect, renowned throughout the Luoyuan province. I am to blame for my inability. I couldn't exact revenge for them. So I could only wait for your return, Miracle Dr. Wang," he explained in humiliation. This was the sorrow of small sects, where they could only bow down in silence after having suffered at the hands of the big sects. They could only swallow the humble pie, even if their disciples were being murdered by the latter. Otherwise, the entire Thistles and Thorns sect would be wiped out should they offend the big sects. This was also the reason why Sect Leader Tang had hoped for the Thistles and Thorns sect to ascend and become a first-class force. Should there be an inborn expert within the ancestral sect, the situation would no doubt improve by leaps and bounds. "Where's the sect ground of the Nine Lotus located?" Wang Xian asked Sect Leader Tang with a heavy look. "It's within the first-level divisional area of the Luoyuan province. But right now, members of the Nine Lotus sect are all gathered at the ancient tomb of Sky City. It's the burial ground of an expert, where highly treacherous traps have been laid. They're still there," Sect Leader Tang explained. "There are currently numerous experts from several ancestral sects and clans who've gathered there." Wang Xian nodded in acknowledgement before turning to look at Mo Yuan, who stood at the side. "Young master, this is the information I've gathered over the past 2 days. Mo Yuan said as he proceeded forward. At which point, sect leader Tang made his exit mindfully. Here's the information on the Nine Lotus sect, young master. As you were not around, I did not proceed with anything on my own. Mo Yuan continued. Wang Xian took a look at the information on the Nine Lotus sect before asking, as of now, how many amongst the Dragonians have attained inborn status? There are 4 excluding my master and myself. 4 Dragonians have ascended to reach the inborn status. Within another month, all members of the Dragon sect will be able to attain inborn status. Mo Yuan answered. Should I get them over, young master? He asked. No need, I'll see to this personally. Wang Xian declined flatly. He wanted those with the guts to hurt Xiao this badly to know the meaning of trepidation and despair. Mo Yuan's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Wang Xian's words. Young master rarely acts personally. He would never trouble himself if matters could be delegated to us. Seems like someone is going to be down with very bad luck. When nightfall came, Wang Xian returned to Xiao Yu's room to check on the duo. They may have regained consciousness under the sustenance of the 2 Dragon Balls. But while they were awake, sitting up was the most they could manage as their limbs remained entirely immobile. Wang Xian's heart ached at the sight of Xiao Yu's plight, which added to his fury. At dawn the next morning when the sun had just risen, Wang Xian came into Xiao Yu's room. His heart ached again as he brushed her head gently while looking at her as she woke with a dazed look. Xiao Yu, would you like to come along with me? I'll exact revenge for you. Wang Xian asked. Elder bro, he tricked me. He said he'd only use one hand, given his prowess as an inborn. But after he started fighting with me, not only did he use both hands but he attacked me with poison. Xiao Yu said with a face of spite. Silly lass. Wang Xian exclaimed as he caressed Xiao Yu's head. Elder bro will exact revenge for you. Come, follow me. He continued. Thereafter, he bent over to scoop Xiao Yu up before turning to face Elder Fong and asked, Elder Fong, will you be joining? No, I'll pass. Bring Xiao Yu along. Elder Fong declined with a smile. Sure. Wang Xian nodded before he proceeded downstairs with Xiao Yu in his arms. Mo Qinglong had a wheelchair placed at the foot of the stairs. You'll have to move around in a wheelchair for the next couple of days. It'll be fine once Elder Bro has neutralized the poison in your body. Wang Xian consoled Xiao Yu with a smile as he sat her in the chair. No issue, Elder Bro. Other than being unable to move my body, I don't feel hurt anywhere. Xiao Yu assured Wang Xian with glee. She was obviously in much better spirits now. Great. Let's go. Wang Xian signaled as he pushed the wheelchair from behind, accompanied by Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue on either side. Sun Lingxiu did not follow along, but instead remained behind to take care of Elder Fong. Whereas Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan followed behind the quartet. At the same time, the Heavenly Hound tagged alongside Lan Qingyue. After carrying Xiao Yu into the caravan, the group set off with Mo Yuan driving in the direction of Sky City. Chapter 376, Bloodbath 2. Chapter 376, Bloodbath 2. The car was moving rapidly and the girls never stopped talking in the car. They were explaining about the Dragon Palace to Xiao Yu and Xiao Yu was constantly amazed by what she heard. She was filled with anticipation to visit it one day. She had long forgotten about the fact that she had been poisoned. This trip felt just like another tour as she chatted constantly with the other girls. Xiao Yu spoke about the battle she'd had with the young master of the Nine Lotus sect. The young master of Nine Lotus sect was an inborn expert. Therefore, Xiao Yu wasn't that dumb to challenge the authority of an inborn expert. However, that young master constantly insulted her. He even declared that he could only use one hand to fight Xiao Yu. As a result, Xiao Yu fought with him out of anger. Although Xiao Yu had not cultivated for long, she was already at the half-step to inborn realm. Moreover, Sui Huang had been guiding her recently. Therefore, she was much stronger than normal half-step to inborn experts. When the young master fought Xiao Yu with only one hand, he wasn't gaining any advantage over Xiao Yu after 10 moves. Furthermore, he was pushed into perilous situations constantly. In the end, he used both his hands and even heavily injured Xiao Yu with the poison. When Elder Fong witnessed it, she attacked with rage and was caught in the venom too. Brother, you must teach that rascal a lesson on behalf of me. It would be best if you could abolish all his cultivation so he can't act arrogantly in the future. Xiao Yu said grudgingly. Wang Xian smiled plainly and nodded his head. After witnessing the scenes of the war during the establishment of the Dragon Palace and the defense of the Dragon Palace subsequently, Wang Xian's mindset had experienced a drastic change. War and death were what he would have to experience in the future. He thought of the millions and billions of deaths, the annihilation of entire races and the fall of countries. This taught Wang Xian that by being strong and powerful, one could have a better living. If someone were to offend him, he would kill them. War, to a great extent, had no right or wrong. It was especially so for wars between races and wars for resources. None of the parties were wrong, but billions of lives would be lost in the process. At this moment, Wang Xian was a lot calmer when facing life and death situations. When he came across resources, he would compete for them. If others were to compete with him, then a battle would be imminent. If someone were to offend him or bully the people close to him, it would be the same response. Kill them. The basis of the universe was as such unless he could become the strongest in the universe and no one dared to offend him. Wang Xian wouldn't kill the innocent but wouldn't be soft to others either. He would annihilate the Nine Lotus sect and everyone affiliated with it would be killed. This was because he couldn't be sure that the remains of his enemies wouldn't deal a fatal blow to his back one day. The war between races would usually lead to the annihilation of one side. The side that survived would be the correct side. Thrones were built upon the corpses of the people. Sky City wasn't far from River Town. The journey took just 6 hours and the group reached Sky City at around 3 p.m. The car drove towards a suburban area of Sky City. "Young master, we have arrived." The car stopped and Mo Yuan spoke. "Let's alight." Wang Xian stood up and carried Xiao to a wheelchair before pushing the wheelchair down from the car. "Brother, this is the place." Xiao pointed at the location in front of them and said, "Those mountains are known as the Sky Mountains. There's a lake there and the scenery is breathtaking. The ancient tomb is located right there. Let's go, Xiao. I will avenge you," Wang Xian said with a smile as he pushed Xiao forward. Mo Yuan and Mo Qinglong were leading the way. Beside the wheelchair, the heavenly hound followed closely behind Lan Qingyue. It kept looking at Lan Qingyue in awe and regularly rubbed against her to show affection. 6 people, a dog and a girl who was in a wheelchair. No matter how one looked at the group, they would conclude that Wang Xian and the group were tourists. "Stop right there." When the 6 people arrived at the entrance of Sky Mountain, 2 young men stared at them coldly. The 2 young men wore identical white uniforms with black lotuses embroidered on them. "This area is out of bounds for ordinary people. Leave at once." The 2 young men looked across the group of 6. Their attention remained on Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue for a little longer before shouting, "Nine Lotus Sect?" Wang Xian looked at the 2 young men and asked emotionlessly, "Brother, it's them. They are from the Nine Lotus Sect." Xiao frowned and said to Wang Xian, "Huh? You know we are from the Nine Lotus Sect?" The 2 young men lifted their heads when they heard Wang Xian. One of the young men lifted his head slightly, looked down at them and asked, "Which family or clan are you guys from? Since you know we are from the Nine Lotus Sect, you should also know the ancient tomb of Sky Mountains is now controlled by us. If you want to enter, you need to prove your worth." That young brat? When the young man finished his sentence, the other young man looked curiously at Xiao who was in the wheelchair. "She's the young girl who was crippled by our young master." It's really her. What gives you the guts to come again? Are you interested in becoming the concubine of our young master? She courting her own demise to challenge our young master. The 2 young men recognized Xiao and started mocking her. Upon hearing them, Xiao was infuriated. It was apparent that the young master of the Nine Lotus Sect had insulted her countless times on that day. "Kill them." While the 2 young men were laughing, Wang Xian caressed Xiao's head and spoke plainly. Wang Xian's voice was cold and emotionless and surprised the 2 young men. They stopped laughing and gave Wang Xian a harsh stare. "Rascal, do you know this is?" Before they finished their sentence, Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan had already struck. A palm appeared on their necks tightly. When the 2 young men realized what was happening, their eyes widened and they were filled with fear. "You guys." Crack crack. Boom. The sounds of the necks cracking resounded. Soon after, cold demonic flames appeared on Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan's hands, burning the 2 young men. The 2 men vanished immediately, leaving only some ashes behind as evidence of their existence. "Arg, brother!" Xiao exclaimed when she saw the 2 men turning into ashes. Her eyes widened as she lifted her head and stared at Wang Xian. The path to becoming strong is filled with blood. Showing mercy to the enemies would be showing cruelty to ourselves. Wang Xian caressed Xiao Yu's head and spoke softly. He continued pushing the wheelchair forward and headed deeper towards the mountains. This was just the beginning. Xiao Yu's expression changed and she remained silent. After 10 seconds, she lifted her head, revealed a smile and commented, "I will listen to you, brother." Since a young age, her brother had been taking good care of her. In her heart, everything her brother did was right. Even if it meant killing and committing arson. Yeah. Wang Xian smiled and replied. He wanted to let Xiao Yu know that this world was cruel and bloody. This was to prepare her for the long journey ahead. However, he did not require her to change her behavior. The job of an executioner could just be left to him. Behind them, Guan Shuqing felt a little discomfort. However, she recovered quickly. Lan Qingyue's expression did not show any changes. When she accepted the inheritance of the ancient god Kuan breeder, she learned about the cruelty of the universe. In fact, the ancient god race was the evil side in her opinion. All she wanted to do was just ensure she wouldn't go against her own nature. Chapter 377 Bloodbath 3. Chapter 377 Bloodbath 3. As part of the sightseeing area of Sky City, the architecture around the Sky Mountain was mesmerizing. At a staggering 142 meters above the sea level and stretching 3 kilometers in length, there were 9 meandering passes along Sky Mountain laid with treacherous paths. At the foot of the mountain lay the famous Great Stone Buddha statue, cliff inscriptions, Crane Flying Pavilion, Crane Coming Pavilion, Crane Drinking Fountain, Xinghua Zen Temple of the Ming Dynasty, Great Scholar Rock of the Qing Dynasty, Shangxi Assembly Hall, Water Pavilion and Yubei Pavilion, among others. The place seemed particularly quiet, given that there was no one at the Sky Mountain, which otherwise was usually bustling with life. "It's up ahead behind this mountain crest," a voice could be heard saying. Meanwhile, a young man was pushing a wheelchair with a young maiden in it while they were accompanied by 4 others and a dog. It was Wang Xian's group of 6. It's been 3 days since the excavation of the ancient tomb. To think that the objects inside have yet to be retrieved. Seems like what's stored within could be very valuable items, Xiao Yu exclaimed with a smile as she looked ahead. Let's go take a look. Perhaps we might even obtain a few treasures. Wang Xian replied with a grin. As he did, he pushed the wheelchair along, which seemed rather effortless, much thanks to the tiled floor laid neatly in brick patterns within the Sky Mountain regions. They passed by one of the pavilions while on their way up the mountain crest. Members from 3 ancestral sects and 2 clans have entered. I wonder who the treasures inside will belong to? A voice asked. The 9 Lotus sect is the most formidable amongst them. Plus they have 2 miracle doctors from the Sacred Followers Guild. So that makes them the most likely. One guessed. But the Luyan family is no weaker in abilities. With 2 inborn experts, they are also very likely to obtain the treasures once they're inside. Another speculated. Tens of people have died, one after another in the past few days. Including 5 half-step inborns. Those must be some really precious items inside. The third exclaimed. The treasures inside belong to us 9 Lotus sect, the last boasted. As Wang Xian and the group arrived behind the mountain crest, they heard the commotion from the crowd. Wang Xian looked to the front. A group of close to 80 people had gathered around. From time to time, they would peer into the underground cave which was situated right in the middle where they hovered. The underground cave measured more than a dozen meters wide as it extended all the way down, making it hard to see how deep the cave actually stretched. Along the opening of the underground cave stood about 20 people, who wore synchronized outfits from the same ancestral sect. As they stood watch, they fixed their gaze on the nearby crowd to prevent anyone from entering. The arrival of Wang Xian and the gang had not drawn any attention. As he looked across, his focus eventually landed in the direction of the group which donned the 9 Lotus sect attire. In comparison to the rest who had gathered around, the location occupied by the 9 Lotus sect was obviously much more comfortable. More than a dozen chairs and tables were lined out beneath numerous parasols which stood by the sides of the members. Meanwhile, several people were seated while having tea by the tables as they waited in silence. Wang Xian uttered as he glanced over in a particular direction with eyes narrowed. It was a familiar figure, an enemy of the past. Miracle Dr. Feng Huazi. Upon the sight of this figure, a look of confusion and suspicion swept across Wang Xian's face. Fang Huazi was currently seated beside a young man, while his arms, which had been previously maimed by Wang Xian, were now dangling aimlessly. Yet, the Fang Huazi of now was all smiles while he sat, as though having lost mobility in both arms was something to rejoice about. "Elder bro, that's the young man," Xiao pointed out. She glared at the young man who was seated beside Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi with eyes of fury. He was the young master of the Nine Lotus sect. "Let's head over." Wang Xian gestured while looking at the young man. He seemed to be in his 30s as he exuded an aura of the experts while projecting an image of confidence and arrogance. Well-loved and highly respected, he was the renowned young master of the Nine Lotus sect. The term young master was rarely coined within ancestral sects, while it was more common in clans. And this position was much more esteemed than that of saint and saintess. Young master of the Nine Lotus sect, born with gifted talents. Having achieved the inborn status at the mere age of 34. It is acclaimed that he will be able to surpass that in his surviving years. Ranked the 5th on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart, his prowess is reputed as a notch above that of the saint and saintess from the sacred sects. Wang Xian explained. As he spoke, he wheeled Xiao along towards the location of the Nine Lotus sect members. "Huh? Who's that?" a voice asked. "Is that?" another trailed off. In that instant, Wang Xian's voice drew the attention of everyone nearby. They looked the group up and down after turning over in surprise. "That's the young maiden from several days ago," someone pointed out. "It's her indeed. I heard that she's a saintess from a second-class force, although her gift in cultivation is very astonishing. She's already a half-step inborn at such a tender age." Another gasped. "Pity though. No matter how gifted," she exchanged hands with the young master of the Nine Lotus sect. "The prowess of a half-step inborn is still very far off from an inborn. She's since been completely maimed by him," another sighed. At the sight of Xiao, who was now in a wheelchair, along with Wang Xian and the rest who stood behind them, the crowd looked on in a state of bewilderment. "What are they doing here?" the crowd of experts whispered amongst themselves. The attention of the young master from Nine Lotus sect and Fang Huazi, both of whom were currently seated beneath the parasols, was drawn over. "They're really here. Fang Huazi laughed upon seeing Xiao in a wheelchair. This was followed by his intense gaze of animosity when he spotted Wang Xian pushing the wheelchair. "Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi, so that's Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown?" the young master of Nine Lotus sect asked. He had not been too surprised by the appearance of Wang Xian and the group, but returned them a condescending look. "That's right, he's the one," Fang Huazi replied with hatred in his eyes. His face darkened when he saw Xiao in the wheelchair. "To think he's really got some skills being able to mitigate the effects of such lethal poison," he snorted. Miracle Dr. Fang, although she's regained consciousness, it appears she's now incapacitated." The young master of the Nine Lotus sect mocked as he laughed at Xiao. "I see," Wang Xian uttered in realization looking at them. They were laughing away in a discussion of Wang Xian and the group without the slightest regard. It was because of Fang Huazi that this Nine Lotus young master had resorted to attacking Xiao with such lethal poison. Fang Huazi was exacting revenge for those maimed arms of his. "The antidote." Wang Xian uttered the words coldly as he demanded it of Fang Huazi with an indifferent look. "Antidote? Fang Huazi laughed before he stood up. "You want the antidote? It was a fair exchange and the loser should bear the consequences. What about it? And yet you're here for the antidote?" He gloated with a grimace. "When you maimed my arms and when my master spoke to you back then, why didn't you mention antidotes?" Fang Huazi fired back. "And now you're here for the antidote? Young lad, this is what you call treating others the way they have treated you, don't you know?" He added. "Let me be clear. Even if there's an antidote, you're not getting it. Moreover, this poison does not come with one haha." He continued thereafter. "Do you know that we, the Sacred Followers Guild, obtain this poison by chance? It's a poison that no one in this world can neutralize. Not even our sect leader of the Sacred Followers Guild, nor the world's most formidable miracle doctor. This poison comes with no antidote." Fang Huazi concluded. And then he sneered, "Ha! Ha!" Chapter 378, Bloodbath 4. Chapter 378, Bloodbath 4. Fang Huazi was laughing hysterically without reservation, as he felt he'd gotten his revenge. He used to have a bright future but had to sever both of his arms to undergo long-term treatment. Over this period he had been living in anger and fear. Now that the kin of his enemy had to suffer the same misery or be thrown into even greater despair, Fang Huazi was exhilarated. A distorted sense of excitement. Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi, your arms could still grow out gradually. However, she can forget about standing up in the future. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect revealed a faint smile as he looked at Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi, laughing hysterically. Haha, you are right. This is the price for messing with me. Fang Huazi stared at Wang Xian with a hideous expression. He licked his lips and resumed his laughter. It's my mistake for not killing you the last time, said Wang Xian emotionlessly. A factionless doctor dares to kill one from the Sacred Followers Guild? Eeh. How brazen are you? The young master of the Nine Lotus sect chuckled in disdain. He scrutinized Wang Xian from head to toe before continuing, now that I have seen the youngest miracle doctor, you don't look that special to me. Subsequently, he lifted his head proudly and turned to Xiao. What's the matter, wild brat? Why are you here in a wheelchair? Were you missing me already? Ah. You. Upon hearing the young master of the Nine Lotus sect, Xiao was furious and glowered at him. For hurting my sister you shall die. Everyone in the Nine Lotus sect will follow you shortly. Wang Xian released his grip on the wheelchair, stared at the young master of the Nine Lotus sect and Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi and walked towards them. Oh, you are going to kill all of us? When the young master of the Nine Lotus sect heard Wang Xian, he squinted his eyes and observed the group of 6. With this group? Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? Eeh. Are you under the perception that we are just an ordinary first-class force? What are they here for? Courting their own deaths? Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown is indeed famous. A factionless doctor that is said to be able to call upon 3 to foreign-born experts. However, he's still a far cry from the Nine Lotus sect and the Sacred Followers Guild. He wants to get revenge? That's courting his death. How full of himself is he? Is the Nine Lotus sect something that a factionless doctor could go against? Moreover, there's still the Sacred Followers Guild. Around them, the crowd saw Wang Xian but were discussing loudly without reservation. A factionless doctor would just be a meager factionless doctor even if he possessed extraordinary medical techniques. When compared with the Nine Lotus sect or the Sacred Followers Guild, it wouldn't even be a meaningful comparison at all. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect stared at Wang Xian nonchalantly. No matter how incredible a miracle doctor was, he couldn't be stronger than him. Wanting to kill him? What a joke. Pa. Wang Xian stretched out his hand emotionlessly. From his side, Mo Qinglong threw Zhan Lu into his hand. Today, I'm going to start a bloodbath with the Nine Lotus sect. Wang Xian wasn't paying attention to the discussion of the crowd as he remarked coldly. He's going to do it on his own? Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown must be dumb. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect is ranked 5th on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart and is an inborn expert. This isn't a contest of medical techniques. What a dumbass. From the crowd, a young man spoke loudly in contempt as he saw Wang Xian receiving the longsword. Wang Xian revealed a chilling smile and glanced at the young man. Hee, since you are courting death, kill him. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect looked at Wang Xian with ridicule. He picked up the cup of tea beside him, took a sip and ordered the disciples of the Nine Lotus sect around him. Yes, young master. A middle-aged man nodded his head before turning to Wang Xian. He said, you are just a meager factionless doctor and yet you dare to mess with our Nine Lotus sect? Today I'll let you be like your sister forever. Just as he finished his words, Wang Xian moved. Although Wang Xian was nursing grave injuries at this instant, he still could match a Dan realm expert. His speed was incomparably fast. Just as the middle-aged man finished his words, he suddenly sensed a shadow appearing before him. His expression changed greatly. Turning his palm, water circulated around it as he shouted loudly, now die. He slapped his palm forward directly. Too weak. At this instant, a cold and emotionless voice propagated. The middle-aged man stared in disbelief as he turned his head over stiffly. He saw that the young man had his back facing him. It was as though he had not struck previously. However, when the middle-aged man looked down, he saw a long sword being pulled out of his chest gradually. Instantly he was filled with shock. Cough cough. You. The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Before he could complete his words he fell to the ground. Wang Xian pulled the long sword out of the middle-aged man's chest. Without taking a second look, Wang Xian continued walking towards the young master of the Nine Lotus sect and miracle doctor Feng Huazi. He wasn't walking quickly but brought with him stifling pressure. What? What incredible speed and sword! How can this be possible? That middle-aged man from the Nine Lotus sect is a half-step to inborn expert. How could a factionless doctor be so insanely strong? That single strike had shocked the crowd as they stared at Wang Xian with disbelief. The young man who called Wang Xian a dumbass was in a daze. His expression changed constantly as fear gleamed in his eyes. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect and miracle doctor Feng Huazi were taken aback as their mood turned solemn. How dare you kill our people from the Nine Lotus sect? When the surrounding disciples from the Nine Lotus sect saw the middle-aged man killed, they quickly surrounded Wang Xian without waiting for the orders of their young master. Kill him, instructed the young master of the Nine Lotus sect coldly. Poof poof poof. The instant the young master of the Nine Lotus sect finished his words, Wang Xian struck. It was still that insanely quick speed. The move was simple as Wang Xian simply slashed across the bodies of the 8 disciples from the Nine Lotus sect. This time, none of them had reacted to Wang Xian again. Their eyes opened wider and their bodies shivered as they saw their waists. So strong. SSS, what incredible strength. He's definitely an inborn expert. He's definitely. The crowd gasped and was shocked by what they had just witnessed. In the previous instant he had killed a half-step to inborn expert. The next instant he killed another 8 level 9 to half-step to inborn disciples from the Nine Lotus sect. This strength was completely beyond their expectations. Wang Xian turned to the young master of the Nine Lotus sect and Feng Huazi as he remarked, "As I've said, I'm going to slaughter every single one of you." Bam, bam, bam. Wang Xian finished his remarks as the 8 disciples of the Nine Lotus sect fell to the ground. The eyes of the surrounding crowd had all constricted upon witnessing the development. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect pulled a long face and glowered at Wang Xian. He gritted his teeth and said, "Great, great. I did not expect you to be an inborn expert. What a surprise. However, even if you are an inborn level expert, you will still pay the price for messing with us." The young master of the Nine Lotus sect no longer had the same composure as before. He stood up and put on a set of blue gloves beside him. Feng Huazi sat to the side, eyes shimmering, watching Wang Xian cautiously. Wang Xian held Jianghu and continued walking towards them. Chapter 379 Bloodbath 5. Chapter 379, Bloodbath 5. Be off and die, the young master of the Nine Lotus sect snarled as he leaped over to attack Wang Xian in a single shift of stance. His face darkened while the blue gloves he wore shone in sapphire rays with a lotus motif embroidered in the middle. A lotus mirage had formed above the palm with the glove, as it emitted bouts of ominous energy. Ranked the 5th on the outstanding young heroes chart. An inborn expert with a bright future. Why then are you courting doom? Wang Xian called out as the young master of the Nine Lotus sect lunged at him. To which he raised his Jianghu sword and slew over with ease. Humph, a renowned miracle doctor at such a young age. Why then are you courting doom? The young master shot back with an icy gaze. As he did, a sound resembling that of tidal waves crashing blasted from his body. Suddenly the lotus in his palm ballooned. How dare you kill our disciples of the Nine Lotus sect? For that you all shall remain here. The young master snarled. Whoosh. The long sword in Wang Xian's hand went straight for the young master's palm. As the Jianghu sword slew right above the lotus mirage, it emitted sound which mimicked flowing water, while the aura of the young master only seemed to gain strength. Yet, the Jianghu sword sliced through the water lotus in his hand, and continued to slay toward the blue glove. Such a sharp long sword, the young master shrieked in surprise as his face flinched, although he continued his attacks using his palm. This lotus glove of his was a level 9 weapon, which feared no saber or sword. Blah. However, at the very instant his palm came into contact with the long sword, the young master gasped in fear while his face contorted. Bam. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang in the air. This made everyone in the crowd look on with wide eyes as they stared at the young master's palm, utterly disturbed. The palm had been split completely, as the cut extended all the way towards the arm. It almost caused the entire arm to be mutilated into two halves, and looked utterly appalling. One move, and the Nine Lotus young master has been seriously injured, one cried out. What sword is that? How could it be this sharp? The blue glove worn on the young master's hand is no mediocre weapon, another yelped. To think of factionless doctors able to take the Nine Lotus young master down with a single strike. How's this possible? The third squawked. To think you've maimed my arm. To think you've cut my arm up, the young master cried with piercing screams. Eyes wide, he looked at his right arm which had been split apart, and roared as he trembled. Behaving like you're all high and almighty. Your fate was sealed the moment you injured my little sister. Wang Xian rebuked. As he did, the movements of his arm showed no signs of stopping as the Jianghu sword he held slew once again, this time aiming straight for the limbs of the young master. You dare to, the young master snarled in fright. In reflex, his body shuffled backwards for retreat while his desire to escape accelerated his speed. In the end, like the many disciples of the Nine Lotus sect earlier, one strike of the sword was all it took. The esteemed young master of the Nine Lotus sect stood rooted with eyes wide, as they filled with despair. Bam bam bam. While the arms detached themselves, the legs gave way and broke, and the entire body just slumped onto the floor. To think you dare to, the young master muttered. He was still in disbelief at such an outcome. Just a minute ago, he was still the esteemed young master of the Nine Lotus sect, one who had been placed on a pedestal. But now his body had been dismembered. How does he possess such formidable prowess? Stop. The experts from our sect will be coming out from the ancient tomb shortly. If you dare kill our young master, all of you will die. Several disciples from the Nine Lotus sect warned as they circled the entrance of the ancient tomb. They shouted in fear upon seeing their dismembered young master. Wang Xian did not heed their warnings, but instead glanced over at the young master who was now trembling violently. The once dashing young master was now staring with hopelessness, having lost all the confidence and prestige of the strong from before. Fresh blood gushed out of his body. Wang Xian then raised his long sword, and turned to look at Fang Huazi who was sitting at his side. The latter was now overwhelmed with fear and shock. How dare you, maim the young master of the Nine Lotus sect? Fang Huazi snapped as he supported his arms on the table beside him while glaring intensely at Wang Xian. I'll let him live a while longer so he can watch the wipeout of the Nine Lotus sect. Wang Xian replied indifferently as he looked back at Fang Huazi. Previously I made a mistake by not killing you. But this time I won't give you another chance. He added. You dare to kill me? I'm from the Sacred Followers Guild, you dare to kill me? Fang Huazi grimaced while he glowered at Wang Xian. If you dare kill me, the Sacred Followers Guild won't let this slide. No matter how powerful you are, if you dare to kill me, the Sacred Followers Guild will hunt you down and kill you. He continued. So be it. I'm guessing that your master is here as well. So, I'll let you watch your master die before I slaughter you. Wang Xian dismissed the warnings. He then wielded his sword and struck in Fang Huazi's direction. Don't you dare. Fang Huazi shrieked while his face contorted. His abilities were nowhere near the inborn level. Moreover, given his now handicapped body, his combat powers were merely that of a level 3 to 4 martial artist. With him having absolutely no means of resistance, Wang Xian went straight in and chopped off Fang Huazi's legs. The Sacred Followers Guild won't let you off. How dare you hurt me, the Sacred Followers Guild won't ever let you off. Fang Huazi let out an ear-piercing scream. If the Sacred Followers Guild doesn't give me an explanation on this matter, I'll wipe the Sacred Followers Guild out. Wang Xian hollered with murderous intent. Hey, how savage, a voice from the crowd yelped. To think he said he'll wipe the Sacred Followers Guild out. He's simply too impudent. Another gasped. As the crowd heard Wang Xian's words, their hearts stirred. Annihilating the Sacred Followers Guild? Even sacred sects would not dare to make such frivolous comments. To think a factionless doctor would have the guts to face the sacred grounds of a medical sect. The hearts of Nine Lotus sect disciples quivered. To think the young lad standing in front of them was savage enough to talk about annihilating the Sacred Followers Guild. Little wonder he had maimed their young master, given such unrivaled impudence. When the ancestral sect experts are out, this insolent lad will end up in a plight worse than death, one of them scowled. The disciples stared apathetically at the insolent lad, as they kept vigil over him. Just then the disciples heard an utterance coming from the insolent lad. "Kill all of them, every one of the 9 Lotus sect disciples," he ordered. "What?" the crowd around screeched, utterly taken aback. There were slightly over 30 remaining disciples of the 9 Lotus sect around. But they had not made their moves earlier, as most of their combat abilities were below level 8. To think that this miracle Dr. Wang was about to begin his massacre right now. Boom boom. 2 bouts of daunting forces surged right at them just as they ended their words. Immediately the crowd snapped their heads back in horror, and looked in the direction of Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan. The 2 inborns projected a stance that far exceeded one of an ordinary inborn expert. Whiffs of devilish aura circled about their bodies along with their ferocity. This mortified the martial artists, and they held their breath for a split moment with apprehension in their eyes. Mo Qinglong began to make his move. But he did not attack the disciples of 9 Lotus sect. Instead, he arrived alongside a young man who stood further away. Just earlier this young man had called Wang Xian a dork, sneering with much sarcasm. He thus deserved death. Meanwhile, the young man nearly peed in his pants as he looked at the aggressive and sadistic Mo Qinglong. "No, don't kill me," the young man pleaded in fear as he retreated backwards. "Die." Mo Qinglong hollered as he lashed his dragon claws, and struck directly at the young man. "Stop right there, how dare you hurt our mortal sect disciples," a voice ordered. Everyone who had made it into the cave were from first-class forces, while this young man had belonged to the mortal sect. The other voice belonged to an elder of the same sect, as he stood in the center of the rest. The elder possessed inborn level powers. He hollered when he saw Mo Qinglong blatantly slaughtering his sect disciple, striking a counterattack with his palms at the former as he did. Bam! As the elder's palm met with Mo Qinglong's claw, his face twitched before he receded. "You dare block our path, then I'll have to wipe all of you out first." Mo Qinglong snarled as his body oozed with a murderous vibe. Behind him, Mo Yuan lunged forth at the mortal sect elder in a single leap, and began to attack. What? Annihilating them over a mere disagreement in exchange. The crowd gasped. Chapter 380 Bloodbath 6. Chapter 380, Bloodbath 6. You guys. When the inborn expert from mortal sect saw Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan charging towards him brimming with killing intent, fear flashed across his eyes. He was aghast and looked to be filled with fear. The 2 men before him were too domineering. They attacked his disciple out of nowhere. When he tried to stop them, they wanted to kill him. Domineering and arrogant. If you can't stop the mouth of your disciple from spouting nonsense, we can only let him shut up forever. If you dare to stop us, we'll just have to slaughter you. Mo Qinglong swung his claws of the devil dragon rampantly. Dreadful and strong devilish aura was mixed with his bloodlust. This caused the inborn expert from the mortal sect to be overwhelmed with fear. This momentum was something he could never withstand. Moreover, there was another incredible expert beside him. This expert also had an identical devilish aura and wasn't someone he could stop. I'm just trying to protect my own disciple. Fear flashed across the eyes of the old man. Facing 2 experts who were determined to kill, desperation slowly crept in. Rumble. In the second strike, Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan attacked together. Arg. I'll fight it out with you guys. Incredible aura erupted from the inborn expert from the mortal sect as he growled loudly. Bam. However, the all-out attempt from the inborn expert only managed to stop the attack from Mo Yuan. Mo Qinglong's claws of the devil dragon penetrated through the body of the old man from mortal sect and smashed him heavily onto the ground. The old man from mortal sect was killed on the spot. Just because the disciple from his sect was vulgar and he tried to protect his own disciple. The surrounding crowd shivered in fear. Even the inborn experts of these sects and families felt horrified. What incredible strength. Within the inborn realm they have likely reached the pinnacle. It is especially so for that middle-aged man. He has likely reached the half-step to Dan realm. Our disciples previously. Several inborn experts turned solemn. They recalled their disciples criticizing Wang Xian previously. Although they didn't use any vulgarities, the 2 men before them couldn't be judged with rationality. Domineering and brutal. Because of a single comment they had killed the old man. No. Don't. At this instant, the young man who had been rude previously crumpled on the floor in fear. He looked at the corpse of the expert from his sect as fear and desperation slowly overwhelmed him. Rumble. As Mo Yuan waved his arm, a stream of monstrous devilish flames fell onto the young man. The young man stared, opening his eyes wide as his body was reduced to ashes before the astonished crowd. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan turned their attention towards the mortal sect. No. Don't kill us. We have nothing to do with them. Don't kill us. When the disciples from the mortal sect felt their gazes, their eyes were filled with horror as they begged for mercy. The disciples from the mortal sect were truly terrified. The mortal sect only had 2 inborn experts and one of them was killed right before them. Moreover, he wasn't even able to put up a fight at all. This petrified them with fear. It's all the fault of that damned brat. He shouldn't have mocked that young man. Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan looked across them. Seeing the spineless disciples of the mortal sect, all they felt was contempt. Moving again, they attacked the group of dumbfounded disciples of the Nine Lotus sect. Arg! In an instant, pitiful cries resounded within the sky mountains. None of the disciples of the Nine Lotus sect had managed to escape from this massacre. The fresh blood and pitiful cries resulted in a heavy and solemn atmosphere around the crowd. They are going to annihilate the entire Nine Lotus sect. An inborn expert looked on in shock as the young man with the long sword walked towards the back of the wheelchair and pushed the girl towards the cave. This way, please. At this moment, the disciples of a few other forces who were guarding the entrance of the cave immediately opened a path upon seeing Wang Xian approaching. Woof woof. The voice of the heavenly hound resounded. It wagged its tail as it moved beside the young master of the Nine Lotus sect. After which, it bit him and flung him towards the side of the cave. It did the same to Fang Huazi and threw him beside the young master of the Nine Lotus sect. You. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect lifted his head and looked around him. Seeing that all the disciples from the Nine Lotus sect had been killed, he couldn't help but feel petrified. Our sect leader won't let you off. He gritted his teeth as he remarked bitterly. I'll not let the Nine Lotus sect have another day of peace. Moreover, I'm going to let you witness it. When Wang Xian heard the young master of the Nine Lotus sect, he lowered his head and said this coldly. Cough cough. The young master of the Nine Lotus sect shivered in fear. Fresh blood oozed out from his severed limbs as vitality was slowly leaking from his eyes. No matter what the outcome would be, his future had been determined. From the high and mighty young master of the Nine Lotus sect, who held extremely great powers and an inborn expert, he had become just a handicapped person now. Furthermore, he might very well die from these injuries. This made it hard for him to swallow the truth as he slouched on the floor, feeling hopeless. Why did I offend a Death Reaper like him? The Sacred Followers Guild won't let you off. They will definitely not let you off. From the side, Fang Huazi cursed incessantly. Wang Xian responded with a cold and mocking smile. Around them, the corpses of the disciples of the Nine Lotus sect were scattered all around, filling the sky mountains with the scent of blood. Wang Xian stood at the entrance to the cave and waited silently for the people of Nine Lotus sect and the Master of Miracle Dr. Fang Huazi to return. Around him, all the other forces were hesitating and eventually chose not to leave. They wanted to witness the outcome. The sun set gradually. It was already into the winter season. As a gust of chilling wind blew past, the surrounding martial artists unconsciously pulled their clothes closer to their bodies. The chilling sensation they felt wasn't just from the chilling wind. It was also from the situation around them. Corpses were scattered around them and the scent of blood filled the atmosphere. Ta-ta-ta. They are back. The sounds of footsteps broke the silence of the surroundings. The crowd felt their hearts skip a beat as they stared attentively at the cave. Ah! An inborn spiritual weapon and the ancient spiritual sword technique. My Nine Lotus sect shall kindly accept them this time. The ancient spiritual sword technique is extremely powerful. Among all the known sword techniques, it could easily rank among the top 3. It is said that it is comparable to the Sacred Seas sword technique of the Sacred Seas of Swords. With this sword technique, the strength of the Nine Lotus sect will increase substantially. Brother Wan, can you give me the Nine Lotus Ocean as soon as possible? My disciple still requires it for treatment. Rest assured, Brother Feng. Since Brother Feng has asked, I would naturally not reject. From the cave, the sounds of a conversation propagated out. Soon a group of people emerged from the cave. The group that came out wore black attire. At the forefront of the group were two old men and they looked a little exhausted. The raiding of the ancient tomb had brought them substantial rewards this time. Scent of blood. When the two old men picked up the smell, their eyebrows knitted together instantly. Chapter 381 Bloodbath, 7. Chapter 381, Bloodbath, 7. What's the situation, clan leader? A middle-aged man asked with a frown. He was currently standing behind the crowd, dressed in all black, and raised the question upon smelling the blood stench like the rest. The clan leader and elder of the Luyun family trailed off. They had been walking at the front of the group while looking around to assess the situation. They were astonished by the sight ahead. They glanced across the ground in the face of tens of dead bodies dressed in white with a black lotus motif. It was obvious that these were members of the Nine Lotus sect. When their sight landed on the area beside the cave exit, their faces twitched in shock. Two grotesque-looking bodies lay next to the cave opening. One of them was wearing a white robe embellished with a black lotus motif, and appeared very familiar, while the other also resembled a close acquaintance. It's the young master of Nine Lotus sect plus Feng Huazi, disciple of Elder Feng, the duo cried out with a heavy look. They scanned around once more. There was no one from the Nine Lotus sect in sight, only dead bodies of their members. These few here? A voice quizzed. In reflex, the group looked ahead immediately, and saw a young man pushing a wheelchair while he hovered outside the cave entrance. He was accompanied by a young maiden in the wheelchair. The pair was standing by the cave entrance in silence, as if waiting for those inside to come out. A sanguinary vibe? One asked. Move along, Luyun clan leader. The rest of the forces hurried in confusion as they were further inside the underground cave and hence oblivious to the scene ahead. With their gazes fixed on Wang Xian and company, the two elders who donned all black attire leaped into the air with one move. As they landed above the cave entrance, they guarded against the surroundings in vigilance. Clan leader, several voices greeted. It came from the members of various forces as well as several middle-aged men dressed in black robes, as they hurried their way over to meet the clan leader. The disciples of the remaining forces also ran over to receive the experts from their ancestral sects. What's the matter? The two elders of the Luyun family asked their disciples with a burdened look, after a brief glance at Wang Xian and company. Clan leader, the disciples called out. They eyed Wang Xian and the group in fear, before continuing with their updates on the situation. What happened? One questioned. What's the matter with Nine Lotus young master and miracle Dr. Feng Huazi? The others chimed in. Right then, the rest of the forces who were following behind had managed their way out. They shouted at the horrifying sight. The disciples who had been waiting for them outside the entrance hurried over to narrate what happened. What's the situation? Make way for the Nine Lotus sect. An elder demanded, while his voice boomed with dominance beneath the cave opening. Hastily, all the forces stepped back to the sides. With a burdened look, they eyed Wang Xian's group of 6. But as they turned back to look at the experts from the Nine Lotus sect, their eyes glowed. The experts were walking over from the furthest edge of the underground cave. The news delivered by the group of disciples had simply overwhelmed them. To think that miracle Dr. Wang, a mere factionless doctor from Rivertown, had the guts to come all the way here in order to wipe out the Nine Lotus sect. They knew that a battle would break out this time, at the tragic sight of the Nine Lotus young master and miracle Dr. Feng Huazi. How come there's blood stench coming from above? What? Did some reckless fellow attempt to barge in? A chubby middle-aged man asked. He had just emerged from the underground cave with all smiles. Sect leader, a weak voice called out. The chubby elder was slightly puzzled as he turned over. Yet, when he lifted his head to check, the smile on his face vanished. He looked forth in the direction where the voice had come from. In an instant, a murderous aura filled the air. Xiao Yu, why have you become like this? The plump elder cried out with a contorted expression. With a single leap, he dashed to the side of the Nine Lotus young master as his eyes fumed with fury. What happened? The plump elder demanded. What? Another voice started to ask upon hearing the commotion. Who was it? Who has the audacity to kill my Nine Lotus sect disciple? The plump elder continued. Huazi. The voice who had asked a question before shrieked this time. As all members of the Nine Lotus sect emerged from the cave, they were followed by Feng Huazi's master, the elder from the Sacred Followers Guild, as well as another miracle doctor from their sect. When they saw the surrounding scene, their eyes went bloodshot with bellicose howls. As he growled, the plump elder turned to face the Nine Lotus young master who was on the ground. "Xiaoling, who did this? Tell me who did this. I'll make sure to tear him to pieces," he cried with an awful look. "They're out," Wang Xian exclaimed with a smile as he saw that all members of the Nine Lotus sect had stepped out from the cave. "How?" the crowd asked in bewilderment as they looked over at Wang Xian, whose voice had drawn their attention. Elder Feng, who was beside Feng Huazi at the time, looked over immediately upon hearing the voice. "Rivertown's miracle Dr. Wang," Elder Feng called out in recognition. Elder Feng's focus landed on Wang Xian after scanning his group of 6. "Is this your doing?" he asked with a narrowed gaze as it filled with savagery. "Yep. This is just the beginning. You guys are next." Wang Xian nodded before he proceeded to draw his sword. "How dare you kill my 9 Lotus sect disciples? I'll make you wish you were dead." An elder snapped upon hearing Wang Xian's words. He darted over with one leap and began to attack. With few questions asked and few details fussed over. He with the guts to kill the 9 Lotus sect disciples, and the audacity to land the youth leader in such miserable plight, shall die. 9 Lotus sect? I wonder who gave you the courage and audacity to harm my little sister. Wang Xian retorted. Taking a stance, he sprung forth to meet the elder heads-on. "You're courting doom," the elder hollered. With his inborn level prowess, he exuded a chilling force of dominance. "Umph." Wang Xian grunted sarcastically as his sword flashed past. One strike of the sword. Again, one strike of the sword was all it took. The elder smacked in Wang Xian's direction with his palm. But after the sword struck right back, the elder's attack halted to an abrupt stop. "And the wipeout begins," Wang Xian announced as he withdrew his sword. With one quick shift, he bolted towards the crowd from the 9 Lotus sect and began to strike. "How?" the 9 Lotus sect members uttered with a puzzled look, as they looked on at the elder who had initiated the attack. Why had the elder's attack halted so abruptly? Bam! Under the astonished gaze from the 9 Lotus sect members and the rest, the elder's body crashed onto the floor, while he looked on with enlarged pupils. Blood gushed out from his neck in copious amounts. "Killing the elder with one strike of the sword?" one uttered. "Oh no!" another cried out in realization. Upon realizing that their elder had actually died, everyone from the 9 Lotus sect looked over at Wang Xian, who was now coming for them as they shrieked in panic. "Kill him," the 9 Lotus sect leader ordered as he glared at Wang Xian with eyes wide. "Kill!" All the experts from the 9 Lotus sect chimed in unison. As they aimed at Wang Xian, they lunged forward with their palm strike. Pat pat pat. Wang Xian wielded his long sword, and slashed away at the bodies of the 9 Lotus sect experts with incredible speed. While he was not versed in swordplay, Wang Xian was backed by his formidable combat powers. Coupled with the boost from his inborn level weapon, it was a piece of cake for him to slay those whose abilities were a level below his. Which made killing the inborns as easy as slaughtering livestock. What? How can it be? How can he be this formidable? The onlookers gasped. They were astonished by the ease of the young man as he killed an inborn expert with one strike of his sword. The ease of defeating the 9 Lotus young master may have taken them by surprise. But, given that he had just achieved his inborn status, defeating him in one move was not impossible. Yet, right now, even the experienced and reputed inborn expert had been slain with one strike of the sword. And in particular, it was the long sword which the young man wielded, which had also begun its massacre on the numerous experts of the 9 Lotus sect, taking them down one after another, one strike at a time. Chapter 382 Total Annihilation. Chapter 382, Total Annihilation. So powerful, so powerful. A person in a single strike. All of them were killed in a single strike. How could Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown have such insane strength? He's just 20 and yet ranked 9th on the Miracle Doctor's chart and has the strength that easily kills inborn experts. What kinds of insane talents does he have to reach this level? Amidst the sky mountains, the surrounding crowd looked in shock. A young man with a long sword in his hand was slaughtering the entire Nine Lotus sect without reservation. A person in a single strike. All the experts from the Nine Lotus sect, including inborn level experts, were all falling with a single strike. His strength is incredible. When the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect saw the experts in his sect being killed easily, he felt a chill running down his spine. Staring coldly at Wang Xian, he clenched his fist tightly. How dare you kill our people from the Nine Lotus sect? Die now. Seeing elders and attendants of the Nine Lotus sect falling one after another, the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect was burning with anger. He moved and attacked Wang Xian directly. The aura around him was no inferior to Mo Yuan. As he moved his palm, his aura had the momentum of a deluge and swept towards Wang Xian. The surrounding martial artists who weren't at the inborn realm immediately retreated. What an incredible miracle doctor. He has hidden his strength too well previously. A master alchemist, a miracle doctor, and now he's also an inborn expert. Elder Feng stood by the side and witnessed the horrifying acts of Wang Xian. He couldn't help but feel a chilling sensation as his expression turned exceptionally bitter. For a person like him, even if we can't become friends, we can never become his enemies. Otherwise. Elder Feng clenched his fist tightly. A razor-sharp weapon that resembled a surgical knife appeared in his hand. We must definitely kill him. Otherwise there will be countless troubles in the future. Ruthlessness gleamed in the eyes of Elder Feng. If Miracle Dr. Wang were just a master alchemist or a miracle doctor, he wouldn't be wary of him at all. As an elder of the Sacred Followers Guild, a miracle doctor or an alchemist wouldn't concern him, even if this person was a genius. However, if the same person possessed insane strength, he couldn't just overlook him any further. In the underworld, strength dictated everything. An insanely talented young man like him would likely have an 80% chance of entering the Dan realm in the future. He could never allow a person like him to get stronger. Kill? Elder Feng shouted coldly. Horrifying aura erupted from his body. The miracle doctors around him followed closely behind him. In their hands they had identical surgical knives. The elders of the Sacred Followers Guild are taking actions. Oh gosh? Why would the Sacred Followers Guild want this young man dead? That miracle Dr. Wang crippled the disciple of the elder in the Sacred Followers Guild. It's only natural that they want to kill him. In fact, the entire Sacred Followers Guild might just attack him. When the surrounding crowd saw Elder Feng attack, they were shocked. Wang Xian's eyes were chillingly cold. Seeing Feng Huazi's master and the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect approaching him, he waved his arm. A dazzling golden glow emanated from Jianghu. That sword is emanating dazzling golden light. Why am I feeling the treasured sword in my hands trembling violently? What is happening? Inborn spiritual weapon. That sword is an inborn spiritual weapon. The crowd exclaimed and stared fervently at Jianghu and Wang Xian's hand. Inborn spiritual weapon. It's no surprise why it's so sharp and could kill an inborn expert in a single strike. The sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect gritted his teeth and shouted, "Die!" A huge, 5-meter palm struck towards Wang Xian with the momentum of a deluge. Boom. How dare you injure my disciple? Today I'm going to annihilate you. Elder Feng pierced his weapon towards Wang Xian coldly. On the weapon, a chilling light gathered into a point and seemed capable of shooting through all objects. Hehe. Seeing over 10 people attacking him from all directions at the same time, Wang Xian plunged Jianghu into the ground coldly. Bzz bzz bzz. At that instant, the surrounding crowd felt as though they were being dragged into a dazzling gold world. Rays of golden light coalesced into sharp weapons and attacked in all directions from Wang Xian within a radius of 20 meters. What? This is a sword domain? Elder Feng, the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect, and the rest who were charging towards Wang Xian, were in shock to notice the razor-sharp weapons that appeared from nowhere. That's a powerful sword, but you will still die. The sect leader of Nine Lotus sect drew a circle around him with his palm. The next instant, a water screen appeared around him. The water screen was just like Tai Chi as it rotated gradually around him. Using minimal force, he swept aside the razor-sharp swords. Ah! Elder Feng let out a loud cry. At the same time, metallic aura emanated from him and surrounded him completely. It was as though he had turned into a golden Vajra. As the sword energies fell on him, sounds of metal clashing resounded. This is really glamorous and cool. Wang Xian looked around him. With the energy of the metal divine dragon, he incited the razor-sharp edge of Jianghu and coalesced them into countless razor-sharp sword energies. After which, he attacked in all directions within a 20 meters radius around him. At that instant, he felt as though he was controlling thousands and thousands of swords. However, you guys are still going to die. Wang Xian placed his hand on Jianghu and smiled gently as he gripped it. Die. At this instant, the palm of the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect was already above Wang Xian's head. With a gruesome expression, he smashed down heavily. However, the golden light on Jianghu shone even brighter. Strong and dazzling golden rays caused everyone to tear. Everyone in the surrounding crowd had now looked away as a painful sensation cruised in their eyes. Roar. Suddenly, everyone heard a horrifying roar. The golden rays coalesced into a 5-meter-long divine dragon that met the palm of the sect leader of Nine Lotus sect directly. The metal divine dragon emanated bone-piercing rays. He opened his huge jaws and attacked the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect directly. What? The sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect was horrified to see Wang Xian's head turning into a horrifying divine dragon. Retracting his palm, the Tai Chi water screen around him emitted strong blue light and circulated even quicker. Bam! The metal divine dragon swung its claws towards the water screen directly. Bam! Dreadful energy of the metal dragon split the defense of the sect leader of Nine Lotus sect easily, and the claws struck heavily into his body. Fresh blood spattered everywhere. Bam! Having knocked the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect down in a single strike, Wang Xian swung his tail towards Elder Feng and the rest. Boom! Strong and powerful dragon energy landed on the bodies of the surrounding people. What? Elder Feng was greatly shocked and immediately pierced the razor-sharp weapon in his hand towards the dragon tail. Dang! What he heard was the sounds of metal clashing, following which tremendous force fell on him. Boom! As the dragon tail swept across, all the people fell to the ground. Whoosh! The divine dragon disappeared and countless long metallic sword energies appeared once again. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Countless sword energies struck towards the people on the ground. Arg! Pitiful cries filled the atmosphere as the surrounding crowd felt their hearts palpitating violently. Chapter 383 Top of the Outstanding Young Heroes Chart. Chapter 383 Top of the Outstanding Young Heroes Chart. What happened? To think the piercing rays of the metal element have stretched over an area of 20 meters in radius. One gasped. It's too petrifying. Is this the combat prowess above the inborn level? Another squeaked. All around, the crowd quivered at the endless stream of spine-chilling cries. The area, which was now concealed by the metallic sheen, had made it impossible for them to check out the combat situation inside. Suddenly, the crowd was taken by storm. As the golden sheen disappeared gradually, they began to peer in its direction. Slowly, a figure emerged. It was a young man with a long sword in his hands, while the weapon was rooted upright into the ground. Countless scratch marks marred the surrounding ground surface. Alongside lay the corpse of the miracle doctor and elder from the Sacred Followers Guild, together with several bodies of the Nine Lotus sect experts. To think that one person can take down 4 inborn experts. Such formidable capabilities. So that's the prowess of miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown? Simply wicked. The crowd murmured at the sight and looked on in disbelief. A young man in his 20s, who was also a miracle doctor ranked 9th amongst all within the underworld, had such formidable powers to add. Single-handedly, the young man had defeated all experts within the Nine Lotus sect as well as the elder and miracle doctor from the Sacred Followers Guild. Such an extraordinary gift is unrivaled and unprecedented, be it in the past or future. Even the first on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart would pale very much in comparison. The 2 elders from the Luyun family commented as they exchanged glances. Both of them could sense the intense astonishment from the other party. Such a character was deemed to have unparalleled achievements, as though a dragon had managed to ascend to the highest of skies. Few flamboyant moves which expended too much energy, especially with my serious injuries, are gaudy and impractical. Wang Xian commented while raising his head, before he pulled the Jianghu sword out from the ground and looked around. Ahem ahem. Ahem ahem. Just then, sounds of 2 coughing could be heard, as 2 silhouettes began to pick themselves up off the ground. It was the sect leader of the Nine Lotus sect along with Elder Feng. "They're dead. To think that they're all dead," the Nine Lotus sect leader exclaimed with a dazed look. Up till now he remained clueless as to why the young man had annihilated the Nine Lotus sect. This made him shudder. As he raised his head to look Wang Xian in the eye, the Nine Lotus sect leader pleaded with a tinge of misery, "Can you tell me what feud you have with my Nine Lotus sect?" Upon hearing his words, Wang Xian let out a brief smile before he proceeded over and stared at the Nine Lotus sect leader. "The poison which my little sister's been struck with is affiliated with your Nine Lotus sect," Wang Xian replied apathetically as he pointed to Xiao in the wheelchair. "What?" The Nine Lotus sect leader gasped with eyes wide, shocked by the sight of Xiao, who was wheelchair-bound. This young maiden, based on his knowledge, was a disciple of a second-class force, and also the younger sister of a miracle doctor. Earlier, he had agreed to the decision of his good friend, Elder Feng, when the latter suggested that Nine Lotus young master inject a poison into the young lady's body when they were exchanging blows. How could a second-class force compete with them, the Nine Lotus sect? How could a miracle doctor match up against the elder of the Sacred Followers Guild? From what he had seen, it was nothing more than the death of one on the spot. He had not expected the elder brother of this young lady to actually be this terrifying. Those formidable powers were definitely not of the inborn realm, but at least a half-step to Dan realm. He dared not imagine it as any level beyond. "What do you want?" the Nine Lotus sect leader asked in trepidation. With an awful expression, he wiped the fresh blood off his face. "Haha, what do I want? Haven't you seen it for yourself?" "I want," Wang Xian responded before he raised his Jianghu sword, "not one surviving soul from your Nine Lotus sect." "You," the Nine Lotus sect leader uttered. But the Jianghu sword came down on him even before he could continue. As he paused, he felt a sharp pain searing at his chest. With widened eyes, he eventually fell to the ground. After withdrawing his Jianghu sword, Wang Xian looked over at Elder Feng, who stood to the side. Elder Feng watched as the Nine Lotus sect leader was killed, and narrowed his eyes at the sight of the latter's death. He gazed over at Wang Xian with a contorted look. "The antidote is kept within the Sacred Followers Guild. If you let me go, I'll give you the antidote. Otherwise, the poison in your little sister's body can never be neutralized." Elder Feng spoke to Wang Xian in a lowered pitch as his eyes glistened. "Feng Huazi said that this poison does not come with an antidote, and even the sect leader of your Sacred Followers Guild is unable to neutralize it." Wang Xian spoke flatly as he eyed Elder Feng. Upon hearing this, Elder Feng's face flinched. Despite which, he continued with an awful expression, "This poison comes with an antidote. Regardless of this, you'll have to die," Wang Xian retorted. As he shot Elder Feng a look of disregard, he raised the Jianghu sword in his hand. "What you?" Elder Feng uttered. Wang Xian did not bear the slightest hesitation. Regardless of the antidote's existence, he and Feng Huazi would have to die. Should there be an antidote, he would stomp over to the Sacred Followers Guild and ask their leader for it. Should there be none, those close to Feng Huazi shall perish with him. He really killed him. To think he really killed the Sacred Followers Guild elder right on the spot. One shrieked. Slaying the elder of the Sacred Followers Guild. This is no doubt a slap in the face to the sacred sect. Justified or otherwise, the Sacred Followers Guild will have to seek revenge for Elder Feng. Another added. This miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown is really menacing, having killed 4 inborn experts from the Nine Lotus sect, as well as the elder of Sacred Followers Guild. No one knows how things will develop from here. In the face of such a powerful existence, even the Sacred Followers Guild will have to treat this matter seriously. The third chimed in. Everyone continued to look on in astonishment, having witnessed the killing of the Nine Lotus sect leader and the Sacred Followers Guild elder by Wang Xian. With his long sword in hand, Wang Xian came over to the sides of the Nine Lotus young master and Feng Huazi before bending down. As of now, the two had been overwhelmed with despair. While they trembled, their eyes with Wang Xian's as though the devil had descended upon them. Didn't think of this, did you? That you would end up in such a state for staging an attack on my little sister? Wang Xian asked as he looked at the young master. Eyes filled with tears, he sank his head as his face looked dead as dust. Isn't it good to be well and alive? Why did you seek death? Wang Xian concluded before standing up and began to take aim with his sword. This is an ancient tomb how apartment. It'll do as your burial ground. Wang Xian added. Upon hearing the comment, everyone around shuddered. They looked at the young man both in awe and trepidation. Thereafter, they watched as the young man walked to the side of the wheelchair and smiled at his younger sister before the duo left with the former pushing the wheelchair. The rest continued to watch, with no less trepidation than fear, even as the duo went further away. Behind the crowd, Mo Qinglong and Mo Yuan approached the bodies of the 9 Lotus sect members. They retrieved the long sword, also an inborn spiritual weapon, along with the secret manual of the ancient spiritual sword technique, before following behind the sibling duo. Simply too powerful. How could such a formidable youth exist in this world? One of the onlookers gasped. What do you guys reckon of his prowess? Do you think he's half-stepped to Dan realm? Another quizzed. The forces left behind crowded around and began to buzz as they watched the figure disappear. Several inborn experts who were closely acquainted exchanged glances before frowning. I think he's at half-step to Dan realm, an elder from the Luyun family murmured. Likely the inborn realm. I saw his last defining strike, where the long sword was rooted into the ground while he held it with both hands. It's likely that the last stance was executed by the inborn spiritual weapon in his hands. Another contested. One from the inborn realm killing 4 inborn experts all at once, where the 4 are all very formidable inborn experts too? The third argued. Half-step to Dan realm's too inconceivable. I reckon he's a pinnacle inborn. So he can still achieve what he did under the boost from an inborn spiritual weapon, the last suggested. The interactions between the few inborn experts continued, while they shuddered at the sight of the bodies which were sprawled all over the place. The prowess of the 9 Lotus sect had suppressed that of all other forces present. They were also the ones to have gained all the recovered treasures from this ancient tomb excavation while the rest showed zero signs of resistance. Yet this was also the powerful ancestral sect which had been annihilated by a young man, using one long sword. The ancient tomb ended up as the cemetery of the 9 Lotus sect members. Based on the young man's tone, his gang had no intentions of letting the 9 Lotus sect off. This was an utter extermination of the sect. The top of the outstanding young heroes chart goes to that young man. The underworld is once again experiencing an upheaval. A voice declared. Chapter 384, Underworld Shocked. Chapter 384, Underworld Shocked. The car left from Sky City, heading towards Rivertown. It was a 6 to 7 hour journey. Within the span of this time, this incident caused a huge uproar in the underworld. The underworld had the Underworld website to facilitate the flow of information between martial artists, issuing missions and announcing some matters. The underworld had never been peaceful. Each day there would be information about certain families being annihilated, certain experts being assassinated or certain experts reaching the inborn realm. To put it simply, the underworld was a fast-changing and lively place. All the sects and families paid close attention to the Underworld website to understand what was happening around the underworld. Today, a shocking piece of news was released on the website. Subsequent to the annihilation of the Dark Conjurers, this was the second incident that shocked the entire underworld. In the forum of the Underworld website, a thread with a shocking headline popped up. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown annihilated the 9 Lotus sect with his own hands. All the experts of the 9 Lotus sect were killed. Furthermore, he has killed Elder Feng from the Sacred Followers Guild and his disciple Feng Huazi. When the thread appeared, it instantly attracted the attention of everyone. The 9 Lotus sect was a powerful first-class force. They had 5 known inborn experts, among which the young master of the 9 Lotus sect was the most famous. He ranked 5th on the outstanding young heroes chart and had reached the inborn realm in his 30s. His exceptional talents were even better than the saints and saintess of several other sacred sects. This was a powerful sect with substantial numbers of talents emerging. Among the first-class forces, they were also one of the strongest. To become an elder in a sacred sect, one undoubtedly had to be an inborn-level existence. Moreover, the elders of the Sacred Followers Guild were also largely powerful miracle doctors. Their names might not appear on the miracle doctors chart, but their medical techniques wouldn't be any inferior to the top 10 on the chart. Yet, these 2 powerful groups had been annihilated. When the people clicked into the threads, they saw photo after photo of corpses. These included the elders and disciples of the 9 Lotus sect. Other than those, there were photos of corpses of Elder Feng and his followers from the Sacred Followers Guild. When the people saw the large number of experts' corpses, they couldn't help but shiver. 4 days ago, an ancient tomb was revealed in the Sky Mountains in the Sky City. Many forces would likely know about it. In the end, several powerful sects surrounding the Sky Mountains occupied the area. Among them, the Nine Lotus sect occupied the most central position. A saintess from a second-class sect also rushed to the ancient tomb in Sky City. She had a clash with the young master of the Nine Lotus sect and was severely injured and gravely poisoned by him. That young girl was the saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect and its future sect leader. At the same time, she's also the sister of Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown is the youngest miracle doctor on the Miracle Doctors chart and ranked 9th on it. Poison Doc once complimented him. It is said that Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown not only possesses incredible medical techniques, but he is also a level 3 alchemist. His talents are exceptional and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him the proud son of heaven. Today, Miracle Dr. Wang pushed his sister in a wheelchair and brought 2 inborn experts with him to the ancient tomb in Sky City. With just a single sword with him, he easily crippled the young master of the Nine Lotus sect and slayed the disciples of the Nine Lotus sect. When the sect leader of Nine Lotus sect returned from the ancient tomb with the other experts of the sect and Elder Feng from the Sacred Followers Guild, Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown slew all of them with a single sword. Holding his inborn spiritual weapon in his hand, he fought with over a dozen experts and killed all of them. A miracle doctor, alchemist and dreadful inborn expert at the age of 20. Looking through history, he's definitely the only one. Among this generation of youths, who can possibly match him? Who can possibly match him? A simple introduction together with several photos instantly shocked everyone who saw the thread. The first comment on the thread was by the person who had started the thread. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown is truly too insanely strong. With just a sword, no one could stop him. Nine Lotus sect could be considered to be a very powerful sect. Yet, they were annihilated by him alone. I have witnessed this with my own eyes and I'm still feeling the goosebumps at the thought of it. He's too powerful. Killing 5 inborn experts at the age of 20 alone. Among this generation of youths, who could possibly be a match for him? The thread had only been up for 5 hours but had gathered over 50,000 replies. The fervent attention paid to it pushed it to the front page. Is this real? The Nine Lotus sect is a very powerful first-class force. They have several inborn experts. How could a 20-year-old young man annihilate all of them? Unbelievable. When I saw this thread, I couldn't believe my eyes. Is this even possible for a person to be so demon-like? The 4 first-class forces, Luyun family, West Mountain sect, Emptiness sect and Lawless Mountain sect, were all present and had witnessed it with their own eyes. I was there too, and the whole matter was even more astonishing than what the forum starter had described. A 20-year-old miracle doctor, alchemist and inborn expert. Moreover, he's factionless. How could this miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown be so insanely talented? He's too incredible and demon-like. 20 years old. How can there ever be such a demon-like existence? The incident has been verified. The strength of miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown is truly shocking. However, he has killed an elder from the Sacred Followers Guild. This matter won't just end as easily as this. As the saying goes, those whom the gods favor often die young. Although the talents of miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown are truly exceptional, the Sacred Followers Guild will not let him off for killing Elder Feng from the Sacred Followers Guild without reservation. I wonder how the Sacred Followers Guild will respond. With their pride as a sacred sect, this matter won't end so peacefully. The Sacred Followers Guild will most likely take action. Giving this demon-like existence another 10 years, he might very well reach the realm above the inborn realm. What an incredible talent. Some people believe that miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown has already attained strength above the inborn realm. I just wonder if they are right. Shocking. The Outstanding Young Heroes chart has been updated. The former number 1 Young Master Hai Long has been pushed down to the 2nd spot. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown has made it to the top. Moreover, he's the youngest of all. If Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown survives, he will definitely be similar to the Island Master of Sea Serpent Island in the future. As just a single person, he would be an existence that could match up to an entire sacred sect. On the Underworld forum, all the martial artists were discussing fervently. There were even people who were certain that if Wang Xian did not die prematurely, he would definitely play an important role in the underworld in the future. A 20-year-old inborn expert was already enough to impress everyone. Moreover, this 20-year-old expert could even annihilate a powerful first-class force alone and kill the elder from a sacred sect. This piece of news spread rapidly to the upper management of each sect. Regardless of their location, it was also quickly conveyed to the sect masters of these sacred sects. A 20-year-old existence that could slay 5 inborn experts was indeed worthy of their attention. All kinds of information regarding Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown quickly reached the hands of the experts from various families and sections. The whole underworld was shaken because of Wang Xian. All the martial artists were astonished by Wang Xian's strength. Those terrifying gifts and demon-like talents. He was someone who put the other youths of this generation to shame. Chapter 385 Sacred Enforcers 1. Chapter 385 Sacred Enforcers 1. Birds were flying in the sky above an island with viridescent trees, and a kind of captivating flower grew on the island. The beach was enchanting with a group of vintage-looking buildings in the middle. The entire island was like a wonderland. At this time, a group of young men was lying before a wooden house on the beach. There were babes by the side, snuggling affectionately beside these young men. Something big happened in the underworld. Just then, a young man exclaimed with astonishment while he was looking at his phone. Things happen in the underworld every day. What caught your eyes? A young man in a black swimming suit was caressing the babe beside him as he spoke with a smile. Hai Long, you're no longer the first on the outstanding young heroes chart. Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown, age 20, has annihilated 9 Lotus sect and slew an elder from Sacred Followers Guild. That young man was appalled as he scrolled through the thread posts. What? Someone replaced Hai Long and took over the number 1 in the outstanding young heroes chart? Several young men sat up around him as they cast their attention to that young man. Only one young man, who was wearing a yellow robe with a golden dragon embroidered on it, did not sit up. He squinted his eyes slightly. It's true. He went up against 4 inborn experts alone and killed all of them. What a great strength he has. The outstanding young heroes chart reviewed him as the 20-year-old demon-like genius. He killed 4 inborn experts with a sword. The formidable results landed him the first position on this chart. Several young men exclaimed in shock. He killed 4 inborn experts at the age of 20. Just like what the underworld's critics said of him. A demon-like genius. Let me take a look. The young man in a yellow golden dragon robe stretched out his hand and spoke to the other young guy at the side. Look, brother Hai Long. That man quickly walked over and handed his phone to him. With inborn spiritual weapon, he slew 4 inborn experts alone. When the young man read the story on the phone, he drew his lips and said, Perhaps I have not made my move for a long time. As he spoke, he returned the phone back to that young guy and sat in his chair without taking this to heart. Brother Hai Long, your strength is? When the group of young men heard his casual tone, their eyes narrowed as they tried to sniff out some information. If my dad contains his strength at inborn realm, I can exchange over 10 strokes with him. Hai Long said nonchalantly. What? The group of young men was stunned, with disbelief on their faces. The ability to exchange more than 10 strokes with his father was extremely fearsome. Hai Long's father was ranked second on the outstanding experts chart. He was the true blue peerless expert and an unrivaled existence. Once, his father killed an inborn expert with just 1 finger, shocking everyone in the underworld. Yet, Hai Long was able to exchange more than 10 strokes with his father even though he had controlled his level to be the same as his son. Brother Hai Long is invincible among the young generation. When that Wang Xian meets you, he will find out what a real outstanding young hero is. That's right, brother Hai Long. If he bumps into you, he'll pale into insignificance in comparison. Every one of them began their bootlicking. Hee, isn't the competition for the young heroes going to start soon? I'll go and have some fun this year, Hai Long said with a beaming smile as he looked off, exuding immense confidence and superiority from within. Outstanding young heroes chart? The charts in the underworld are all jokes. Killing 4 inborn experts just by yourself at the age of 20? Your strength is quite formidable. But I'll defeat you if I have an inborn spiritual weapon. In a quaint house among the towering mountains, A young man drew his lips as he read the message sent by his subordinate. Amitabha. All martial arts in the world originated from the ancient temple. Finally, I have the chance to go out after staying in this monastery for more than 30 years. Back at an ancient temple, a young monk received an order from his master to make his way out of the mountain. As such, he was smiling from ear to ear. He stroked his bald head and said, "What a wonderful and attractive world outside. Oh, I have to make a name for myself. Recently, the underworld has been quite bustling." The young monk looked greasy on his face with cloudy eyes, and didn't look like a monk at all. The underworld was experiencing turbulent times with the appearance of a demon-like genius. Everyone was shocked. At the same time, some prideful talents were unconvinced. The top 5 rankings on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart were all at the Inborn realm. This was a known fact. Many sects and schools also hid their gifted disciples for their safety. As such, more hidden talents remained unknown. After all, there was more than 1 billion people within the country. The probability of a demon-like genius appearing was extremely high. Back at a vast space surrounded by a dense bamboo forest in a grassland, there was a palace sitting in the middle of the bamboo forest. The palace was huge, spanning an area of 10,000 square meters. The entire region was filled with the scent of medicine. If any ordinary people were to stay in this place, they could comfortably live up to 100 years old. There was quite a large amount of herbs planted around the palace. It was incredibly picturesque with the palace pavilions within it. The signboard titled, Sacred Followers Guild, was hung on one of the main buildings located at the center of the palace. This matter obviously arises because Elder Feng crippled Miracle Dr. Wang's sister with venom. Hence, Miracle Dr. Wang had his killing spree. I think we should plan our moves properly. Elder Yan Shi, our elder of the Sacred Followers Guild, has been killed. What plan do we need? Everyone in the underworld is waiting to see our response. If we don't react to it, I'm sure everyone will think that we're weaklings. We cannot allow this precedent. So what if he is known as the demon-like genius? We should kill him. Since he killed Old Feng, he must die. This is the Sacred Followers Guild's dignity. A group of more than 30 fearsome elders were sitting within the hall. They all shared the same mightiness of a supreme leader as they quarreled within the hall. However, the chairperson's seat was empty as the guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild was not present. Yanshi swept his gaze across everyone sitting in front of him with a frown as he said, "The objective of the Sacred Followers Guild is to help each other, ensuring the safety of every miracle doctor. No one will provoke us if we don't do it first. Now, Elder Feng has been killed because of his own doings. Do we have to take revenge for someone who creates troubles?" Yanshi. Shut up. Old Feng is dead and it hasn't been that long. He's one of our elders in the Sacred Followers Guild. Aren't we avenging him for when he was killed by someone else? Chapter 386 Sacred Enforcers, 2. Chapter 386, Sacred Enforcers, 2. That's right. No matter who's at fault in this incident, the one who killed them deserves death. This is to let everyone know the consequences of messing with us, the Sacred Followers Guild. Before Yanshi could finish his sentence, 2 old men seated opposite him shouted harshly. "We will post the image of the corpse of that brat onto the Underworld website and make him the example of the consequences of messing with the Sacred Followers Guild. Send out the Sacred Enforcers. That young man has to be killed. If he had just crippled Elder Feng, we wouldn't have said a further word. However, since he chose to kill him directly, it is a show of disrespect to our Sacred Followers Guild. We have to let him know the consequences." Another 2 old men shouted emotionlessly. Yanshi frowned and looked displeased. He faced the group of elders and said in a solemn tone, "Let's report this to the guild leader and see what he has in mind before acting. Our guild leader went out to sea 3 days ago and we aren't sure when he will be back. We can't possibly be waiting for him forever. Yanshi, since you don't want to be involved in this, shut your mouth. We will lead a few Sacred Enforcers over." At this instant, an old man opposite him stood up and chided. He looked across the group opposite of him. "I'll bring the Sacred Enforcers along with a few elders. We don't need your involvement. Teske." As the old man finished his words, he headed for the exit. 5 elders stood up, followed closely behind and left. Yanshi was feeling conflicted. The few other old men around him shook their heads, stood up and left without saying another word. "Brother Wang Xian, This incident has been blown out of proportion. The journey from Sky City to River Town took 6 hours. Night had fallen when they arrived back at the villa. The moment they stepped in, they saw Sui Huang sitting on the sofa. Is that so? All I did was annihilate a first-class force. Wang Xian looked at Sui Huang before carrying Xiao to the sofa. Sui Huang took a look at Xiao and shook his head. Brother Wang Xian, your name has shocked the entire underworld now. Annihilating the entire Nine Lotus sect, killing the elder from the Sacred Followers Guild, the #1 demon-like genius on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Any single achievement is able to shock the entire underworld. You are much better than I was when I was young. You are making it sound like you are better than me now. Wang Xian looked at Sui Huang and made a joke. Upon hearing Wang Xian, Sui Huang raised an eyebrow and was clearly infuriated. Brat, do you want to have a fight now? With my experiences, I will easily crush you to the ground. I shall not be calculative with an old man like you. Seeing that night has fallen and you are still here, I believe you aren't just interested in telling me this, right? Wang Xian smiled and sat beside Sui Huang. What? Am I not welcome? Sui Huang stared at him and started scrutinizing him from head to toe. He squinted his eyes and commented, Are your arts of refining elixir pills really as incredible as the rumors have claimed? You can now refine level 3 elixir pills easily? I guess so. I'm a demon-like genius and am not someone you can compare with. Wang Xian chuckled and his lips curved into a smile. You, Sui Huang choked on his words and stared harshly at him. You are really arrogant. Now that you have killed an elder from the Sacred Followers Guild, they will definitely not let this go easily. Old Huang isn't in the Sacred Followers Guild currently, and the matters of the guild are managed by the group of elders. I believe they will be giving you trouble soon. As Sui Huang spoke, he looked to Wang Xian. I haven't managed to get in contact with him. When I do, please let this matter rest. Huh. Wang Xian was taken aback by what Sui Huang had said. The old Huang that he was talking about was most likely the guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild. Give me troubles? Deske. Murderous intent gleamed in Wang Xian's eyes. This matter isn't something he could just put to rest on his side. Sui Huang sensed the murderous intent in Wang Xian's eyes. He frowned and asked in a solemn tone, What are your thoughts then? Wang Xian leaned back on the sofa, looked to his side and saw Guan Shuqing chatting with Xiao. Subsequently he remarked coldly, If the Sacred Followers Guild has the antidote, this matter could be put to rest. If they don't, all the families and kin of that elder Feng will have to die. As he spoke he looked to Sui Huang. I don't wish to see an incident like this for a second time. Sui Huang felt his heart skip a beat when he met Wang Xian's eyes. His eyebrows gradually knitted together. The overly confident young man before him wasn't his junior. Instead, he was a terrifying expert that could equal him. As an expert, he would have his pride and bottom line. Clearly, the elder from Sacred Followers Guild poisoning his sister with lethal venom had completely breached his bottom line. At this point, it was no longer the issue of whether the Sacred Followers Guild would seek revenge. Instead, it was whether this young man would let this matter slide. The elder of the Sacred Followers Guild had poisoned his sister because he was taking revenge for his disciple. This put Wang Xian on the defensive. Will there be others attacking him once again to seek revenge for that elder? As an expert, Wang Xian would never let this happen again. He was going to crush this idea that people might be harboring against him. In that case, he had to ensure the deaths of all his potential enemies. This was a very domineering method but was also a method often used by strong experts. Experts wouldn't let this type of risk linger on. Brother Wang Xian, can you hold back and not act at this moment? Within 5 days I'll let old Huang give you a satisfactory answer, said Sui Huang as he looked to Wang Xian. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment by what Sui Huang said. Subsequently, he nodded his head and answered, All right. Since old Sui you have requested this, I shall listen to you this time. 5 days. If this isn't settled in 5 days, I will go to the Sacred Followers Guild. All right, 5 days are enough. Sui Huang revealed a smile. 5 days was enough time for him to contact the guild leader of the Sacred Followers Guild. As long as he explained the situation, old Huang should know how to handle it. This matter had started because of an elder from the Sacred Followers Guild after all. All right, the old man shall leave. Regarding your sister's situation, I'll ask some of my old friends and see if they have any solutions. My dear disciple, your master shall be leaving now. We will start on refining elixir pills tomorrow. After exchanging some pleasantries with Wang Xian, Sui Huang stood up and headed for the exit with a smile. After Wang Xian finished his dinner, he returned to his room and looked up the Underworld website on his computer. Seeing that all the comments were about him or matters related to him, he chuckled nonchalantly. He could be considered as a rather low-profile person, as he would leave some matters for the Dragonians to handle. If this incident didn't concern Xiao, he wouldn't have acted personally. However, since he did, so be it. If he became known throughout the Underworld, so be it. As for those comments about him being likely to die young as he was favored by the gods, he simply chuckled upon seeing them. It was still not certain who would be dying first. After Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing returned home, Wang Xian continued browsing for some time before getting into the bed. He was pondering about the situation of Xiao and Elder Fong. I'll bring them to the Dragon Palace in 5 days' time. Just as Wang Xian was resting, the Underworld was still discussing fervently about what had happened today. When it was close to 10 p.m., a new threat appeared suddenly. Miracle Dr. Wang from River Town shall die for killing an elder from our Sacred Followers Guild. It was from the Sacred Followers Guild. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.